Calling all metalheads. Are you ready to rock? We're bringing the band back together for day 3 of the Fixed Ops Roundtable 90's Rewind event. Here to get this show started is our lead singer, Katrina Ness.
Good morning. I'm Katrina Ness from Northwood University. Are you ready to rock? Grab your flannels and your favorite band tees because we're putting the pedal to the metal for day 3 of the Fixed Ops Roundtable's 90's Rewind event. Get the 411 by using the chat feature on the right side of your screen. Just be sure to select everyone and not just hosts and panelists. Here to kickstart our day, we've got an interview with the Director of Marketing, Digital, and Field Performance at Byryder, Lewis Scott.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine, and I've got a special guest with us today, Lewis Scott, Director of Marketing, Digital, and Field Performance at Byryder. Lewis, welcome to the Roundtable.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be on. It's nice to see you again, and hello to everyone out there.
Well, Lewis, first, this is a conversation where I wanted to really get to know you a little bit more and introduce you to people that may not know you in the industry. So first, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Lewis Scott?
Well, no one special, but I would say, Lewis Scott, as you alluded to, I'm Director of Marketing. I oversee our digital and field performance for Byryder. We're the nation's largest buyer pay here, auto finance franchising company, and we have roughly about 38, 39 franchisees that account for, over 113, 114 rooftops. In my role, it's pivotal to, help provide across the nation best practices, for digital, whether it be organic, direct, paid, SEM, SEO. I could go on, with the acronyms, but, it's been a very fun ride for me. I've been with Byryder for 12 years and I've had a multitude of hats within the company, both on the marketing side for going on 5 years now. Previously, on our franchise operation side, similar to a DRM for our OEM folks that are listening, and then even in the brick and mortar, being a general manager and starting on our consumer finance side. And so I would say, Lewis Scott, in a nutshell, has had roughly 20 plus years of auto experience, and just always, finding, entries and ways along the way to stay integrated within the auto world.
I always find it fascinating how people like you that have come into the industry and been in automotive for so long, a lot of us that come to automotive didn't necessarily think that automotive was going to be where they got started. So I'd love to ask you, how did you first get started in the auto industry?
Though I live in central Indiana, I've lived here now since 2012. Born and raised in Southeast Michigan. So for us, Metro Detroiters, you pretty much, your first job is to figure out which one of the big three you want to work for. And, at that time, my experience was with Chrysler Motors, but literally starting in the back, an internship, in the mailroom and in the Mo Parts division, helping stocking parts and mail, and just, I laugh about it, but, it gives you the exposure of really seeing, not only how robust, the auto industry is, just the importance in the economy, but just, different parts. So to be able to be a part of, an OEM brand, and then eventually transition over to Chrysler Financial, which was the captive finance, entity for Chrysler Motors when I worked for them. Really, it's just a seamless transition, growing up in Michigan and having that exposure to want to be in auto and help move it forward.
Well, and it is so fascinating to hear how your career has developed and all the different hats, as you said, that you've worn throughout, the 20 plus years that you've been in the industry. Has there ever, in that course of time, there's always pivotal moments where we look back and we reflect, and it was like, wow, that path got me to this next stage or this next opportunity that really propelled me forward. Has there ever been a moment in your career that you felt propelled you to where you are today?
Yeah, I would probably say that the previous positions, that I held with Byryder, one being a franchise consultant and operations consultant. When you're in the field, boots on the ground, traveling to locations, talking to owner operators, helping them with their business, top of the funnel, sales, service, finance, we'll just say expenses, and even advertising and everything else under the moon. Really realizing that marketing, kind of like sales, is something that everybody does. It's not as big of a, monster unknown, or you feel that you need to have, an undergrad or master's. We all can come through it at different points of entry in different channels. And just having that exposure and just, we'll say backbone of being around sales and operations for the majority of my life, really realizing that marketing is essentially, a step above that sales funnel. We talk a lot about, leads, appointments, applications, sales, closing rates, CSI, and all of that. But, really what marketing provides is that sales funnel activity above those metrics. And really, for me, just really stepping back and seeing that bigger picture, it was very enjoyable and a seamless transition for me to move into marketing, especially on the digital side. From a performance perspective of making sure your ads are in front of the right customer, at the right time, that, eventually does result in things that are important to dealers, leads, apps, and closing ratio.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up marketing, because it's something that continues to be top of mind in a lot of dealerships. And we've seen the pre-owned market, it's changed substantially in the last 4 years. And there's a lot of conversations around, what should I do next, or what can I anticipate next? What would you say is most important for dealers to consider today?
Well, I would say regardless of, what you're selling, domestic, import, luxury, used, pre-owned, off lease, EV, I can't forget about good old EV, is to understand that your brand needs to do whatever it can to stay in front of a customer. And when I say customer, I really mean consumer. Because one of the things that we've been able to find out, just using our first party data, is that customers are looking at your website, way earlier than you think. They may or may not have submitted lead information. But, if you really think about it, I think the last time I looked at this, the average life expectancy for an individual is almost 5.5, 6, and not life expectancy. Actually, life event expectancy would be really, really bad, but life event. And so what I mean by that is it's really important that your brand is top of mind when one of those life events do happen, whether it be, new job, bigger job, relocation, family, your growth of family, just needing a new vehicle and in general, and everything that may come with that. And so I would say, whether it be traditional advertising, TV, radio, snail mail, direct mail, but also incorporating digital. And last but not least, social also, Facebook, customer appreciations, just all these different channels that you stay in front of a consumer, being there when they're finally ready to make that purchase and choose you as a dealer.
Well, and a follow-up question to that, if I may. So you touched on a lot of different threads in that conversation, and the life event piece, I think, is really fascinating to point that out. And so, what's, from your perspective in marketing, are there elements, that you schedule in advance, or like what's kind of the thought process in thinking about what is the right message to get in front of a customer, and how do you keep their attention?
Well, I think the right message is you want to make it personal. Different things, trigger consumers. I sit back and look at, a lot of commercials, and, a lot of them are very vibrant, colorful, upbeat music, but even my 7.5-year-old twin daughters, they know all the local commercials and the jingles here. And that's, really what you want to do is to try to find that avenue that, yes, you're selling a vehicle, but what can you do to make it personal, to the market or the customer that you're trying to target, that they can resonate with it. It could be, day-to-day driving. You've seen, different things from, mileage and being on the road. Our evergreen slogan at Byryder is, credit for being you. So when you think about some things that you may have, challenges in consumer finance, or maybe not getting approved in traditional banks and lenders, being able to know that you can go to somewhere that will give you credit for things that you've done in your life, your job time, your res time, income and things within that nature. But I think the ability to personify and resonate with the consumer, that they remember you, and be able to stay top of mind with that.
Well, and I'm glad that you also brought in the components about, purchasing a vehicle. And that's something that, a lot of dealerships are wrestling with that process today, because customers are seeing more and more choices available to them online, whether they're looking, to purchase their next vehicle through a dealership website or a dealer web or a website like Byryder's. Customers are making a lot of retail decisions and looking to have, more options available to purchase right from the comfort of their home or right on their phone. Can you tell us a little bit more, of your perspective, what's next in online retailing?
Man, I would say what's next is make sure you are continuously optimized to mobile. Everybody right now, their journey is starting on that smartphone, whether it be, your Apple or Samsung or anything within that. But we're seeing roughly 85 to 90% of our traffic and experience coming from mobile. And one of the things that are kind of taken for granted in a digital space is when you get a chance, go look at your website, look at your vehicles, your VDP, your SRP, and see what it looks like on a mobile experience. It is just as important that although we have iPads and desktops and Chromecasts and things of that nature with Chromebooks and et cetera, that mobile experience needs to be as frictionless as possible, so that you can continue to evolve from a digital component. You can spend a lot of time, in Google and SEM and getting your ad in front of someone. And if the experience of whatever advertising lands them to your page is not pleasant or is not as frictionless as possible, you're not really going to be able to see that attribution of what your dollars are driving for you. So I would say it's important to embrace, all things digital and what's happening, not having all your eggs in one basket. They do support one another in omni-channel, but once that consumer does get to your website, that their experience is as frictionless as possible, both on not only desktop, but especially the mobile experience.
But I'm glad you mentioned the mobile piece of it, because so many transactions, so many different ways that people look at their phone today, grocery orders, Amazon, there's all kinds of facets that it makes it really easy to do business right from your fingertips. And I think, it's very timely to discuss that with dealerships, because a lot of dealers are used to, all right, you're going to go review it from your desktop computer. And the reality is a lot of people are on their phones. So I appreciate that insight, and thank you for sharing it. Lewis, I want to kind of wrap up our conversation today with really kind of a question that's a little open-ended. What are you most looking forward to? Here we are in May. What are you looking most forward to in this last half of the year?
I would say, for me, and I'm biased. Obviously, I'm in, digital marketing, so I look at, the customer journey a lot. But the ability to continue, to whiteboard and share that experience. We had talked about life events. What happens when a consumer gets to your website? How can they resonate and remember your product different than from your competitor somewhere down the street or even somewhere on a .com experience? But continuing to show, not only, for, a marketing team, but also, dealers, owner, and operators out there that customer journey is much longer than what it may feel like. And yes, all of our CRMs and our DRMs have, phone tracks and call tracks and everything we can do to get that lead in the store. That time frame is much quicker when we have that line of communication, but really showing, that there's probably, double the amount of time that consumer was, looking on your website, driving by, maybe back in your service bays before they really decided, again, going back to the life event that, what may have triggered them to put them in the market. But I would say, really in short is to continue to show the importance of customer journey, especially in the auto world. And I think it's a really big, important piece to our business model.
Well, Lewis, it has been an absolute pleasure getting to talk to you and get to know you a little bit more today and hear your perspectives on everything going on in the industry right now. So everyone, Lewis Scott, Director of Marketing, Digital and Field Performance at Byryder, thank you so much for being on the roundtable today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Everyone, Lewis Scott, Director of Marketing, Digital and Field Performance at Byryder. Stay tuned. We have more exciting segments coming up on the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Let's team up with our newest certified dealer, the Team Automotive Group.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. The Fixed Ops Roundtable Certified Program recognizes the country's highest performing dealerships who have demonstrated success in developing employee culture, improving the customer experience, and implementing innovative best practices and technology solutions. Today, we'd like to welcome the Team Automotive Group. And with us today, Kristin Dillard Sodoma, who is the dealer principal, Matt Raymond, part of Bowtie Solutions. We'll hear more about that today. Owen Moon is with us. He's a certified partner of the Fixed Ops Roundtable at Trade Pending, formerly Fixed Ops Digital. And of course, Sarah Vantine is with us today. Sarah, we got a great panel ahead of us.
This is exciting. I'm so excited to get to talk to Kristin and Matt and Owen today and also share a little bit more about Team Automotive Group with the larger automotive community.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. Kristin and Matt and Owen, welcome. Kristin, perhaps you first, if I may. Tell us a little bit about yourself, the dealership group, maybe the franchises, the history, and so on.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having us. So my name is Kristin Dillard, now Kristin Dillard Sodoma, recently married. I grew up in the car business working for my dad. He had a single point in Salisbury, North Carolina, and it was way before the internet and cell phones and all that. And so I learned pretty quick that if I wanted to spend any time with my dad, I needed to go to the car dealership. So after school, I would be there, 10, 11, 12 years old. My first job was there. I started in the detail department, just like my dad. And then I got to graduate to answering the phones. And then eventually I sold cars in the summer between high school and college. So I sold for 3 summers, I think. And then I came back and started working in the business. We started our business development center through there. And then also I went into F&I, which happens to be my favorite position in the whole dealership. And then I worked through all the chairs, service advisor, parts consultant, everything like that. And then in 2017, it was a really special day for our family because General Motors came in and congratulated my dad for serving 25 years as a Chevrolet dealer. And then like 5 minutes later, they appointed me dealer principal. So it was really a cool day.
Wow.
And then after that, I started putting my team together in 2018. 2018, our new team, we were able to go out and start purchasing dealerships. So that year we bought 2 dealerships, Swansboro and Goldsboro. And then after that, we were adding about a store a year. We got to 7 stores. Our goal is 10 stores in 10 years. So we're well on our way to that target. We did sell 2 stores recently, mostly because they had really big construction projects tied to it. And I've learned about myself that I don't like construction. So we are in the process of looking for some more stores, definitely on target for 10 stores in 10 years. And we're on a path to grow, mostly because it allows a great opportunity for our team to move into other positions across the states that we represent, but also because it allows for vertical growth too for our team that wants to move up the ladder and make a little bit more out of their career than what they have currently.
Well, Kristin, congratulations to you and the team. You've been nominated to be a Fixed Ops Roundtable certified dealer.
Thank you.
And welcome to the family. And we saw you burst on the scene, like you said, several years ago, and we've been watching from afar the amazing growth that you've been having. So, Kristin, congratulations again.
Thank you.
On all the success that you and your group are having. Kristin, tell us a little bit about what Matt is working on over at Bowtie and how all that came about.
So Matt has started a company called Bowtie Solutions, and it's an outsourced BDC for the service side of the business. And it has been amazing to watch what he has done with us. So I'd like to turn it over to Matt and let him talk about it a little bit.
Thanks for having us on, Ted. One of the big things for building this was, with one of our stores that we had purchased, customers, it's very country, and customers didn't want to talk to a centralized call center. And so we partnered with a technology company, and we were able to label the phone line so we knew we were answering for that store, as well as build out a knowledge base. And so when we could act as a partner of that store, people thought we were in that store, and it solved a lot of customer complaints about not talking to a centralized call center. And we were sitting down one day talking. I said, man, there's a huge need in the auto industry for this, because if a dealer wants to build a BDC in-house, there's a huge expense associated with it. And if they want to outsource, there's a huge communication issue there where the outsourced BDC doesn't really act as an agent of the dealership because they're handling so many phone calls. They might be crisscrossing, businesses. So that's where we took our technology and our processes and then went out to dealerships and built them a customized outsourced BDC.
And Owen, I know you've realized this great technology that Matt and Kristin have brought to market. Owen, you recently had Matt on a panel. Owen, tell us more about your thoughts on this.
Yeah, well, first off, congratulations, Kristin, on all your success and obviously getting nominated. Team is ultimately what everybody talks about in automotive, and so you definitely have the greatest dealership name in the country. So, it kind of fits together. I think here's what really has happened, right? In 2020, COVID exposed a lot of things in the world, but in the automotive industry, it exposed a lot of things that we have problems on the personnel side. And so there's a lot of different opportunities starting to pop up with companies like Matt's in Bowtie Solutions, in that you're solving a lot of those inefficiencies that we're seeing at the store level. And it's a good and a bad thing, right? Because the good thing is that it allows for people to get more specialized and really help out and really kind of find those niches. I think, though, a lot of dealerships, and maybe Kristin, you can attest this. I'm sure you have 20 groups and things like that. The biggest objection I hear on things like Bowtie, and Matt, you probably hear this a lot too, is I want it all to be my own people. I want it to be internal. I want it to be my own stuff. But then, the moment they walk away and they start focusing on other things, those balls continue just to get dropped. And so I think there's going to be more need for different strategies and technology and companies like Bowtie Solutions to really, kind of fit into those niches to really help. And so I've really seen Matt grow. Obviously, Matt was a longtime friend of mine. He's been a client of mine for, a couple different dealerships on different products. And it was just kind of great to see Matt sort of step into this role, and kind of now he's on the vendor side. So we'd have a chance to talk a lot more and, collaborate. And, I'm proud of what he's been doing. And I see a lot of big things happening for Bowtie in the future. So.
And I think one of the coolest things to add about a service like that is the magic of redundancy. So, like most stores would say, fine, I'm going to build my own BDC for service, and they can hire one, maybe two people, right? But what happens when somebody's got a day off and then the next person's sick? Who's answering the calls then? So having a team that can handle all the PTO, all the sick days, all the, my kid has a ballet practice, all the things that come up in just regular people management. It's nice to have a deck of people that can cover your incoming calls or your outbound campaigns or any of the things that pop up in normal service departments.
Well, Owen, I completely agree with, and Kristin, one of the things I was so excited to be able to nominate Team Automotive Group as well, because of all of these innovative things that you and then Matt and all of your businesses are doing for not only the North Carolina community, but also dealers all over the country. I do want to pivot, just Kristin, one thing that I didn't hear you talk about in your background was, I know you've had, and Team Automotive Group as well, has had a lot of accolades during that time as well. Can you share with us a little bit more about some of the acknowledgments and awards that y'all have accumulated over the years?
Sure. I think that's just a direct result of the team that we hire. We really focus on hiring just really good humans. You can teach a job, you can teach a skill, but you can't really teach someone to be a great human. So most of our effort goes into finding the right person. We also are on EOS. It's called Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's for every business. It doesn't have to be automotive, but it's a way of managing your teams. And so within that system, there's a lot of focus on right person, right seat. So you can have the right person and maybe they're just not in the right seat, but you can also have the wrong person that really knows how to do their job. And we're out on wrong person. So I think just our focus on finding good humans, and then also making sure that we've got them in the right seat that works the best for their personalities and their skill strengths as well. And that, I think that's what led to a lot of those accolades, was just our people shining through.
You know, we've got so many experts in marketing, Sarah, on this panel. I have to ask the question to everybody, maybe starting with Matt and then on to Owen and Kristin. What marketing innovations within the fixed op space would you like to see dealers implement now to prepare for a strong second half of 2024? The industry, as no secret, is going through a lot of rapid changes. I think, Matt, it's the most exciting time I've ever seen in the industry. But there's been a lot of those changes in the last couple of years. What innovations are coming that you think we need to prepare for?
Yeah, great question, Ted. I think the biggest thing out there right now is that you, as a dealership, and speaking from, having all our dealer clients too, don't overcomplicate it and leverage technology to capture data and to measure data. One of the biggest things that I see on our end, and this is a conversation I saw our BDC agent handle yesterday. BDC agent called the customer and they're like, "Oh, you just missed me. I was just in for service 3 days ago." And the BDC agent's like, "That's great. Did they get the next service appointment scheduled for you?" And he's like, "Well, no." And the agent's like, "Great. Let me set that up for you right now while I've got you on the phone." And he even used the dentist office as an example of why you make your next appointment before you leave where you're at. So as dealerships are looking at all these different strategies and AI and technology and looking at buying things, they really just need to look at their processes first and make sure they're dialed in before they add something to it.
Owen?
Yeah, and I was going to talk about process. I'm glad Matt brought that up, but I think part of process is also transparency. I think transparency is becoming more and more important on the service side. We already had it on the sales side, right? I mean, you can get any data and what is selling in the market, what are things priced at to market, things like that. I think I hear horror stories all the time of people getting secret shopped and they're getting 3 different prices on an oil change on 3 different phone calls. So constantly trying to kind of embrace the transparency model on the fixed op side, I think is important. Obviously, we try to do that more with on the website experience, but I think that's just a start. I think it has to carry through the rest of the process, as Matt said, or you're not going to have that true retention strategy that everybody wants. And there's some data that came out that I think for the first time ever, franchise dealerships are not the preferred destination for service. We've got to change that, and I think we've got to change that very quickly. And to Kristin's point, it comes with good personnel, comes with good processes, and it comes with, in my opinion, just being upfront and transparent with the consumer, and I think you'll win every time.
Good point. Kristin, your thoughts?
So we kind of have a mantra within our group, no shiny widgets. So our focus continues to be, we want to reach the right customer at the right time with the right message. And yes, there's technology that's involved in making sure that we're connecting with those people with the right message and the right timing. But really, that's where the magic is. Like, if you can get to a customer, before it's time to service, you get them serviced, you get them in the shop, and then you show them what needs to happen on their car to keep it, as a safe, well-maintained vehicle. You're there. So for us, it's really just about the timing and making sure that we're actually connecting with our customer base.
I want to unpack the service elements a little bit more for a second, since we've been talking about the marketing, but we keep going back into the service experience as a collective. And really, the service lane experience has remained consistent for many years. But I would love to get everyone's perspective on this. What best practices and considerations would you recommend to our audience as they continue to innovate within the fixed ops space? And Matt, I'll come to you first.
Thanks. So I was having coffee with somebody this morning. We were talking about this, and all of our dealerships, even dealerships that we have groups of, not one dealership does exactly everything the same, but they all have the franchise tag on them, right? But McDonald's, Burger King, whoever it is, they all have a process. So when you look at the service lane, the biggest thing that we see from all our data points that we measure is that when consumers come in and they visit the service drive and they drop their car off and they leave, because all the dealers are pushing right now for drop-offs. They don't want people waiting in the lobby. So when they drop off the car, the biggest issue we see is when customers call back, are they getting an answer to what the status is of their vehicle? And that all comes from the meet and greet from the service advisor to the call when it comes in, and to know what the process is from there. And we've got a store, and I was going over this with the dealer yesterday. We've got a store where we measure unique callers, and then we measure total calls. We've got a store so dialed in right now on their TO process and follow-up process that where our unique calls are 1-to-1. So if they get 100 phone calls that day, they get 100 phone calls from unique people. There's no multiple callbacks. That's what needs to happen, because then you're saving the advisors from having to spend time on the phone and focus on selling and servicing vehicles in the lane.
Matt, that's such a great point, because status updates are a huge problem collectively as the industry. That's one of the big pain points in the customer experience. Owen, what best practices would you suggest to our audience as they're thinking about the service lane experience?
Huge shift in mentality right now, and I've seen it more and more the last 18 to 24 months, where we've gone from maybe an absorption mindset, right, where how much of our service department can help pay for the rest of the business, to more of a retail, right, where we're selling hours and we're trying to maximize time and efficiency. But I think it's a fine line, right, because you have to make recommendations based on needs, not just on sales. So there's constantly that. I think that's a tug of war right now going inside that we're trying to focus on. But I think having those consistent processes all the time, always doing an MPI, always recommending services that are that the MPI is telling us need to happen. It's up to the customer to decide if they are willing to get those services done today. But I see too many times where, if you have 100% MPI and now all of a sudden you got, we had 60 or 100% goal, and this month we did 70%. Well, what happened to the other 30, right? Why did we not do that? And then even like recommendations, like, I didn't feel like they were going to want to buy any additional services that they might need for their vehicle. Well, if you just continue to stick with that process with every customer every time, you're going to see not only a better experience all the way across, but you're also going to see the results are going to pay for themselves. Or are going to see for themselves. Sorry.
Kristin, and you get to look at this perspective as a multi-store owner, and you have all these different service lanes across your businesses. What would your advice be, to our audience as they consider fixed operations and service lane experience?
I think it's always going to come down to communication. Communication, like voice to voice, whether that be in person, while they're standing in front of you, or via a phone call. But then also having the technology to send something to the customer where they can, self-service themselves too. So, if they don't want to have a call about it, that's cool. But if they want to go through it with, with their spouse or their mom or dad or their son or daughter, and, what is this thing that they recommended to me? And, there's a way that they can share that's easy to share, easy to read, and they can pull up. Like, we have a system that we use. I'm sure everybody else has the exact same system, but you can see how many times a customer pulls up a repair quote. And we always find that to be interesting. Sometimes it's 10, 15, 16 times that they, wanted to pull it up and relook at it. And, and then they call back and they're like, okay, fine, I'll do it. I would love to have this repair. Please set me up. But, having technology where they can self-service themselves, but also communication where they can talk to a real human about what the recommendation is and why.
Makes a lot of sense. If I may, everybody, a lightning round as a last question today, to kind of get everybody's feedback. I'll come to Owen. I'll come to you first, and then Matt, and then Kristin to bring it home. Finally, today, what advice do you have for the folks watching today, your fellow dealers, managers, and retail, for the balance of this year, 2024? What should we be looking at? What innovations should we be aware of? What are things that you think are going to impact the business? What should we be aware of? And again, let me start that with that one.
Interesting data that's, I think, been different than the last 3 or 4 years. People are behind on their oil changes. People have less money to spend on service than they've had in past years. That's what the data is telling us. So you have to change your mindset to get some of the basics done, some of those oil change services and things like that before we can get into other areas. And a lot of dealerships haven't put a lot of focus on that because that's kind of been their consistent business throughout the years. So don't lose focus on the fact that the consumer has changed a little bit over the last 12 months here. And I think if you can do that and use technology to leverage some of that, I think you're gonna find success with those those consistent recommendations and things like that. But almost starting, I hate to say the word basics because I know that's such a basic word, but it is literally like you have to start at the beginning of the process. Don't skip it and think that, hey, I've got to get into the middle right away. I mean, if we're behind on oil changes, put together some campaigns, call Matt and say, hey, can I talk to people that have not been in for an oil change? Let's do some outbound calls to those people, because again, it wasn't necessarily an area that we had to focus on in the past, and now we do. So different opportunities based on what's going on in today's market.
Matt, Raymond?
So I would say, and this is going to sound like a pitch for Bowtie, but outsource the things that you're not professional at. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but if you look at dealerships, I have yet to find a dealership that has a glass company on site, right? They outsource glass to everybody, but every car that comes through their drive has a windshield. So, but they outsource it because they're not in the glass business, right? They're in the auto repair business. They're not in the sales business, they're in the sales business. They're not in the call center business. So outsource things that are easier for you to just manage an account manager, right? Work with them versus trying to take everything in-house and always control everything. And that'll free them up to sell and service more cars.
Good advice. Kristin, your advice as a dealer principal.
I'd say it's always going to come back to communication and humans. And so there's a lot of noise out there right now about AI and let's let the computers take care of everything and machine learning. But if you have a customer that has taken the time to pick up the phone to call you because it's something detailed to them or something scary for them, they want to talk to a human. They don't want to get stuck through, some sort of machine process. So I would say meet the customer where they're at. If they want to talk on the phone, have somebody to talk on the phone. If they want to text, give them a platform to text in. If they want to just self-service and schedule their appointments online or, whatever, give them a place to do that, but meet your customer where they're at. I think they will always be appreciative that you set up the system so that you can meet them where they want to be.
Sarah, very refreshing to hear what Kristin and the group are working on.
Oh, it's no doubt Kristin, Dillard, Sodoma, you and the team at Team Automotive Group are doing a fantastic job. And it's always incredible to get Matt Raymond and Owen Moon's perspective on all things fixed operations.
Well, great. Congratulations to you again, Kristin and Team Automotive, on becoming a Fixed Ops Roundtable certified dealer. A lot more in store, everybody. So again, thank you so much for being a big part of our automotive community and all we're doing at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Looking forward to a lot more. On behalf of the Roundtable, Matt Raymond, Owen Moon, and Kristin, Dillard, Sodoma, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us on.
Everybody, the team from Team Automotive here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
For most dealerships, warranty administration is one of the least satisfying segments of their business. It is difficult to staff, claims expire quickly, losses are common, and there is an even greater risk of audit liability than with the IRS. Luckily, TBF Jupiter Warranty Management is here to help you improve claim quality, accelerate cash flow, increase revenue, reduce audit liability, and simplify operations with seamless integration. Much like the IRS, each manufacturer has created its own complex system for warranty administration. TBF Jupiter Management starts by requesting volume information from the dealer. This is so we can ensure that you will receive an OEM-specific warranty administration expert. Next, a consultant will visit your dealership to conduct on-site documentation training with your entire service team. Once administration begins, our assigned admins log directly into your DMS system to work on open but completed warranty repair orders. When the RO pays on the next statement, our posting team posts the revenue directly into the dealer's accounting, leaving differences on the schedule for review. And you will never have to ask us about an age discrepancy because our statements team reviews your warranty schedule each month and creates a status report of all aged balances. These overlapping teams make our service the best in the industry. Our dealers have a personal relationship with their assigned admins, and those admins get support from our entire team. That support allows our admins to process more claims than other systems and improve their efficiency. Since we collect more, improve claim quality, and cost less, the real question is, why would you do anything else? To learn more and receive a personalized quote, please visit our website and complete the online contact form at warrantymanaged.com.
Our next panel features trendsetters of smart technology. Please welcome Agora Data.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Agora Data is making a big splash all over social media these days, and we're very fortunate to welcome an all-star panel from Agora Data. They are Steve Burke, who is the CEO, Chad Stilwell, who's the Chief Technical Officer, and everyone will recognize Becky Chernek, one of the founding members of the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And Becky, Steve, and Chad, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks for having us, Ted.
Thank you. All right. A lot happening in our industry. Becky, when you speak, people listen. I know 5 years ago, I listened to you and said there was a need for a roundtable of best practices. And Becky, here we are with the 24th event. So when you started talking to me about Agora Data, it seems like maybe 2 years ago, I took interest in a lot of notes, and here we are. So, Steve, I'll let you open it up. Tell us who Agora is and what's going on.
Well, thank you, Ted. And first of all, let me say Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. That's probably more important than anything we're going to talk about today. But so Agora, we founded and started Agora in 2017 to disrupt an industry that really hasn't been changed in a lot of years. I like that this is the 90's fixed ops roundtable, but if you really think about auto finance, it hasn't changed since maybe even the 80's. So we created, first we assembled a team of industry experts from banking, technology, retail auto, finance, and we put that team together with one mission, and that mission is to enable any car dealer, that's any car dealer, to be a finance company. And what I mean by finance company is not buy here, pay here. I mean a true finance company. And we went to the capital markets, to Wall Street, and we are able now to connect the capital markets to car dealerships to be that finance company. The same place, Ted, that your traditional finance companies get their capital from the capital markets, we now bridge that to the car dealerships.
Steve, I know the dealer makes a profit when they sell a vehicle, but really the big profit in most cases is the one made by that finance company. Would I be correct in saying that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I started in this business back in the 70s, I ran a department called after sale. It wasn't even F&I back then. And in after sale, we would sell all the bumper guards. I'm really dating myself. And in New York, trunk plates that would go on cars, yes, and things like that. And that was an after sale department. And we made money on that. And then finance came along and it became F&I. And folks started making some money on back end, for financing the consumers at the dealerships. The dealers would make some money on back end. But really where all the money is made is in those finance companies. I mean, it's a lot of money. In a lot of cases, more than dealers will make on fixed ops, more than they'll make on used cars, more than they'll make on the I in F&I.
You've got a lot of dealers' attention, Steve. There are more and more dealers today getting involved. In fact, they're investing in different technologies, services, and products that other dealerships will use. Tell us, what are some of the misconceptions on, let's say, subprime lending? As you and I remember it from back in the 90s and then some.
Well, back in the 90s, we used to send our sales staff into franchise dealers to tell them, and this is in the very early 90s, to show them ways that we could finance more cars for them and they could sell more cars. And it was through that nasty word called subprime or non-prime. And I remember to this day having some of the largest franchise dealerships tell me and my staff to leave because they never sold cars to subprime customers. Fast forward to today, it's a big part of their sales, and certainly a big part of the $1 trillion of auto loans that are in the market today.
And Steve, it seems that Agora Data has found the sweet spot. Loans that perform at their highest level. Tell us a little bit about that. And you mentioned putting the dollars back in F&I. Tell us more.
Yeah, I mean, we sometimes, and this upsets some of the lenders out there, but we ask a dealer, who makes more money, you or your lender? And then we say, wait a second, don't answer it. Why not be both? And if you look at some of the largest, or the country's largest, without naming them, franchise dealer group, and probably the country's second and third largest franchise dealer groups, and some of the large online retailers, they all have finance companies. And they have finance companies for several reasons. One, dealers forgot that the F comes before the I in their F&I departments. So we're putting dollars back into the F by enabling that dealer to be a finance company, just like those large, national dealer groups have finance companies today. And because we supply all the guidance, all the technology, the platform, the compliance, the servicing, and the capital, the dealer really does nothing different than they do today. They get that consumer in their F&I office, they sell them a car, they e-contract it to Agora, and then the dealer gets the full upside from that loan. And I'm not going to profess to be the tech guru on this call. That's Chad. He's got better hair than me too. By the way, in the 90s, Ted, I had long hair down to here.
Yeah. I had a mullet, so.
Okay. But getting beyond that, Chad can definitely, tell you how with laser accuracy, we're able to really do it in a very safe and sound way.
And Chad, apologies, Chief Technology Officer at Agora Data. And here's where the technology comes in. Fast forward to today. Chad, take us through it.
Yeah. So how do we do that? How do we add that accuracy, and where does technology come in? So I think we all hear the buzzwords of AI today, and it's been around for a while now, right? AI has been part of our worlds. We all use it every day when we ask Alexa or Siri a question. But now we're jumping forward into this new generation of generative AI. And that really is helping us to create things, right? So machine learning takes all the historical data we've had, and it allows us to answer questions using what we already know to predict something in the future. Generative AI helps us to actually create things. So how do we use those two things to work faster, smarter, better? Well, one, we're using Gen AI to actually help us write new programs. So we're no longer just, the single coder or team of coders that are creating new technology products. We're able to use technology to assist us to get those out into the market a lot faster. Then we're able to use machine learning, which has been around for probably about a decade now in kind of public use and consumption. And we're able to use that to make really smart decisions. And I like to use the FICO example. So FICO's been around for a long time. It works great. It can tell you basically what the performance of a large pool or population is going to be. But where it falls short is that once we start moving out of prime and we're moving down into subprime, is that we're trying to say that what has happened in the past is going to predict future performance. And that's generally a true statement. but it's not true at an individual level, right? So your score is going to tell you what you did to get there, but it's not really telling you the story of where you're going. And using all of this wealth of data and technology, we can take that information and now we can differentiate kind of what got someone to that spot and where they're going from there. So we're able to take that population and make very intelligent decisions on where someone's going to go next, not what they've done in the past. So think about that, right? We've got a population of consumers. They're in this, big generalized subprime bucket. And how do we manage that risk right now? A lot of ways. Usually rate is if you ask someone, rate's the number one thing they manage that with. And that's kind of to play that law of averages of the goods and the bads. But if we can differentiate the goods and the bads, and we can predict with a lot of accuracy which ones fall into each segment, then there's a lot we can do from there. Now, what we do at Agora is we use that information to empower dealers to be their own finance company, and we put these tools in their hands so that when they're making those financial decisions, they're making the right decisions, and they're building a strong portfolio. And these are the types of things that a lot of companies are starting to do. And I think you see it more in like the third-party technology space, because companies are able to invest in those types of research and programs with data scientists, and they're offering them up. So it's one of those things that's exploding right now. And I love that Gen AI has come out, because it's now taken something that was maybe less talked about and kind of a taboo term, and now it's super popular and something we talk about every day. And I think we all enjoy using some of the consumer-facing tools going forward.
Chad, what a great explanation. And you mentioned Gen AI and AI. Potentially, Agora Data can have a big impact on consumer lending in the automotive retail business, and a great impact on auto financing. I got the feeling that's what's coming here.
Yeah, we hope so. We hope so. And I it's one of those beautiful things as well, where empowering people to make those decisions and understand gives folks that chance that maybe they didn't have, 5-6 years ago. And it's a win for the dealership that gets to have that loan. It's a win for the consumer that gets in the car they needed. It's a win for everybody. And we're able to make those decisions now with a high level of confidence. So it's one of those really great things where technology has come in, and I think it's really going to have a really positive impact on society.
Becky, you've been talking to us about the dealership life cycle for a long time. How do you see Agora evolve within that dealership life cycle?
Well, if I didn't tell you so, what did I tell you? This is going places, definitely, and will definitely revolutionize the way that we do business in dealerships across the country. One of the things, and me, I have been in automotive retail, F&I, for a very long time, and maybe not as long as Steve, no, but I've been in or maybe, but I've been in F&I for quite some time. And I remember when I first got into F&I, he sent me to Pat Ryan, and all the dealers back then, and some of the guys will know what I'm talking about. Others, like Chad, may not, but we were sent to Pat Ryan, and Pat Ryan, guys and gals, was the founder of F&I. And it was just the place that we went to. He came up with the concept of driving and the concept of F&I and driving profits back to a dealer via the F&I department, and being able to bring lenders in and speeding up the process for customers and making it an easier process to buy and sell and buy cars. And along that, he decided with that idea concept that he would offer credit, life, and disability. And wouldn't you know it, it just was gangbusters. Coined the term the F&I box. And so you had some dealers that were saying, there's some money risk doing that. But wouldn't you know it, he hit the ground and ran with it and didn't look back, created a big profit center for all our dealers across the country and then some. So I talk about, like the 90s rewind. And of course, I was part of that 90s rewind later on in my career. And as I was going into some of these dealerships, there were F&I. There were some of these guys that were trying that F&I in-house. And frankly, if a customer could fog a mirror, we were delivering, well, not me, they were delivering vehicles and probably created a very tough situation, risky situation for dealers in doing that. And then we had to learn lessons the hard way. So here we are today with Agora, and Agora is revolutionizing. They are taking the next step into the future, into now and into the future of helping dealers to do just this, to maximize those profits, but also to cultivate business they're not losing control over. So instead of sending profit, that earning potential, the net proceeds to a lender, why? When you don't have to. But more important, and of course, profit is so important, especially as Steve pointed out, with the profit margins shrinking today more so than ever. We have to make up for that difference. We have to think outside the box. We have to be relevant. We have to think and be more ingenuous to find out what's it going to take to be more profitable in our businesses, but also to captivate our customers and create that better ecosystem so that way we have customers coming back, that we're cultivating that business and bringing customers back for more, and especially bringing customers back into service. That's what it's all about, and cultivating that life cycle for that customer. And I believe that Agora Data definitely, along with the team at Agora Data, is going to do just that.
It's Steve. It seems that your timing couldn't be better right now.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, sticking with the 90s rewind, I think back to Blockbuster Video, and I would wait online for the new releases on Tuesday evening. I'd buy popcorn. I'd rent the tape if I was lucky enough to get the one of maybe 5 or 6 that they had. Bring it back late, pay late charges, fail to rewind, and pay that. And then along came Netflix, and Blockbuster, went away. And, I was a big BlackBerry user, and along came the iPhone, and it went away. So constantly you have to reinvent yourself. And, COVID, if anything, if there's any silver lining to COVID, the silver lining would be you really need to reinvent yourself now, because it became very easy to buy a car. You could go online and buy a car. You could, drive down the block and buy a car. You could still go into a dealership to buy a car. It's so easy these days. And it's also easy to lose control of your customer if you're a dealer. And you want that customer coming back to you because they love you, because they come back for service. They come back for everything, including just to have a cup of coffee while they wait in the service department because they like the seating area there. And you want those consumers back in your shop. Well, with Agora, with enabling a dealer to be a finance company, they keep that customer in their ecosystem. It's an entirely new way of thinking. Do everything for that consumer. Keep them in your ecosystem. And one of the things that was very important to us, Ted, when we came out with the mission statement of empowering every dealer, enabling any dealer to be a finance company, is not just having the technology like others have, not just having the guidance and the advice and the platform that others have. So we actually put our money up to the dealers to enable them to do that. So when Chad tells you he could truly differentiate good and bads, we're putting our money up to ensure that happens. So we're looking for partner dealers out there that really want to create that, new way of having a consumer stay in their ecosystem and take advantage of every department of those dealerships. So I think this is very good timing. I think you're right. And where, our pipeline is full and we have a lot of activity, and this is a very good time.
Everybody, we're speaking today to the leaders of Agora Data, Chad Stilwell, Rebecca Chernek, Steve Burke is the CEO. Agora enables any car dealer to be a finance company. It's a game changer in our industry. Steve, for the dealers, general managers, used car managers, decision makers watching us today, if they want more information and want to take the next step and learn more about Agora Data and what you can do with them in a true partnership, Steve, what's the best way for a dealer to take the next step?
Quickest, best way is just go to our website, agoradata.com, click on Get Capital, just fill out a little bit of information. I think we used to call it, a 3-liner or a 5-liner on the credit applications, just a 3-liner, fill it out. One of our area sales managers, we're all over the country, will immediately get in touch with that dealer and walk them through our program. And then we also don't just leave it at that. We have an entire dealer success group that will go in, provide all the training, and any hand-holding that the dealer wants or maybe doesn't want, we'll provide all of that to make sure it's a smooth start. But it's agoradata.com.
Great, fascinating. Well, I'd like to invite all of you to come back at a future roundtable and tell us, because it seems every few months things are changing in our industry. You mentioned disruption. Things are changing so fast. So I want to follow the progress and the success of Agora Data. Chad Stilwell, thank you so much for your time today. Becky Chernek, thank you so much for introducing us to another game changer here with Agora Data.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Becky, for all you do. Steve Burke, wonderful having you with us, and congratulations to you on all the success you're having at Agora.
Ted, thank you. And thank you for having us. Very much appreciate it.
Everybody, Agora Data with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
CDK fits into what we try to do here very well for one reason. It works. The tools that you have, the resources you have, allow you to run a car dealership the way that it's supposed to be run.
We use the CDK Fixed Ops suite. It has everything that we need to run the dealership. Everything's in one spot. Without CDK, I don't think we could be as successful as we are today.
We've seen a 30% increase in gross profit in our service department in just 1 year. It makes it so easy when you partner with CDK. What I'm most excited about with CDK, the evolution of the product itself. I like the direction it's going. It's going to make people's lives even easier.
These two speakers have the eye of the tiger. Here to share on all things training, welcome John Fairchild and Shon Kingrey.
Two very well-known names in the retail automotive industry are here with us today. They are John Fairchild, the high-performance fixed ops coach of Fairchild Automotive Solutions, and Shon Kingrey, the vice president of fixed operations at the Kayser Automotive Group. John and Shon, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you, Ted. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for everything you do for the industry. I'm proud to be here with my associate and longtime friend and partner, Shon Kingrey. Shon, a couple comments?
I say what he said. I follow what he said. Kudos.
I'm proud that we know Shon Kingrey, John. So it's a great honor. Gentlemen, training is back with a vengeance. Here we are, spring of 24, and we see all types of initiatives out there. John, I'm curious what you're seeing in the field. You're doing a lot of work. You're doing workshops. You're also going in store. You're doing a number of things to support and sustain the training model that you have successfully built and deployed for example, there at Kayser Automotive Group. Tell us what you see.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the segue, Ted. I see a lot of different things happening out there in the field, and I primarily, really, that is the only way I get engaged with dealers is by referral. And so, I'm out of the convincing business at that point, and now is it a fit that I can help your dealership? And so we go through an assessment process, because I always say that, and we don't want to start firing until we know our bullets are loaded properly. Okay. Yeah. And if you can think about, if you're on the variable side and you got a truck out on the front line and it is a $500 loser, then you don't want to sell 100 of them. Right. And so before I come into a dealership on an on-site consultation, I do a lot of setup. Setup is really critical, and the things that need to be set up are things that it really in a lot of stores, you may think this is crazy. There are a lot of things that are fundamental that may not be all the way tight. What are those things? Do they have a digital playbook per se? Do they have a active scoreboard process that they use on a daily basis? Do they have a homogenized menu with flat pricing and all the op codes are purified? And is it easy for advisors to advise? And so in that initial process, I see a lot of setups, to answer your question, Ted, that really it's tough for a dealer to keep those maintained on a regular basis when they're in the line of fire, when they're putting out fires, and when they're getting alligators biting them all day long. So a lot of what I see on the initial consultation, Ted, is a lot of setups that just need to be put back in place and then maintained in a proper way.
Can I come back to you on that assessment? How important is that initial assessment before you ever go in, boots on the ground, into a dealership? How important is setting that stage properly?
It was critical for a couple of reasons. I may not be the best solution for that dealer, and quite honestly, I might not want to wrestle with some of the things that they have going on if they're going on. So yeah, I do a remote questionnaire where I get all, and I do it with several leaders in the dealership and try to do them blind. So I get the answers from different people. And then I'm a data expert, Ted. I'm a DMS expert. And so I go in and I pull the data and I crunch it into Excel. I've got algorithms that help me to determine what their pricing strategies are. And I compare them against their market. So when I look at their market, are they in competitive and maintenance, for example? I don't want to be the highest. I don't want to be the lowest, but that's the time during the setup that I can make those adjustments, and then I can help them to carry them forward.
Shon, first of all, how long have you been working with John Fairchild? I know you've got a history of working, a lot of success. Give us some background on that and then go through it if we could.
I actually met John pre-COVID. It was kind of a weird deal where we had a mutual friend through MSX who referred me to John. I hired John, and then COVID kicked in. And quite frankly, I fired John before I ever met John. We put John on the ice real quick, and then John came in, was nice enough to sit tight. And then once post-COVID, even though I was in Florida, it is what it is. COVID was out. Everybody was unsure. And then John came in. So I suppose John and I have been together now for, it's got to be 6 years.
Yeah.
Good 6 years.
Yeah.
Those were tough days, that COVID. But
Absolutely.
Shon, that's long behind us now. And now I hear that John is in your store. Is it every month?
Yeah. So we do we have a 45-day roll in all 8 stores. I'm going to go back to I'm going to reiterate what John came back to. The assessment's got to go both ways. When I came here, I'm in a group that's going to be here 100 years as of next year. We talk about it a lot. Wow. That's a good and a bad thing because they have some old traits that need to be broken first. Okay. Sometimes you got to break the toy a little bit. And when John and when I first got here, of course, I talked to you and I talked to John a lot. We had to make sure it was the right timing for John to come in too, so it didn't fail. And even though we still have a few stores that probably we'll say are a little more hesitant, at least they're not saying no. And the timing needed to be right. It did. And it probably lasted about 6 months. Might have been about a month too long, to be honest with you. But once I knew the stores were ready for John in the training, then we launched it. We've done it. Obviously, we've had some pretty substantial growth. I mean, huge financial growth. And I'm sure we'll get to some of those during the session today. But yeah, it's got to be right on both sides. It's got to be right on John's side. Plus, you have to have a store that's willing to take it. Because if you got a manager that walks in and tells the advisors, John and I spoke at NADA together last year, they'll outweight you. And we'll get into that too. You got a manager that's going to go out to the advisors and say, hey, there's going to be this bald guy coming in. Don't pay attention to him. Listen to him for a week and then he goes away. Guys, that's not going to work. You're wasting your money. And you just are. If the manager doesn't support it, it will never work.
Shon, how uncommon is it to get some resistance to training? I mean, you've been doing this for a while, and I would think that's kind of be built. You have to build that into the equation that you're going to get some.
I would say, to answer your question, 9 out of 10 times you're going to get resistance. Listen, no, everybody hates change. It's the word's cliche. We all know that, okay? And you got advisors that think they know better. They've been doing it their way for how many ever years. We have advisors that have been here 40 years, guys. Legitimately been here for 40 years at the same desk. Well, they know their own way. And for somebody to walk in from Atlanta off the streets and go, hey, the way you're doing it, this might be a little better. It's uncomfortable for everybody.
John?
Yeah, let me comment on a couple things you said there, Shon. I use this expression, you got to break some eggs to make an omelet, right? And, to coin a less popular phrase, we got to rebuild it better after we break it. And, there is resistance to that. And I always say that human beings, and I think this is so true, all of us, you, me, and everybody else that can claim that label, are creatures of habit. And we get habituated to the way we do things. And we've always done it that way is really a lot of what I hear. And I get that question a lot from dealers is that, how do I approach a situation that may be at times hostile or have some resistance? And sometimes you get resistance through what Shon said is like, you wait it out and they can just give you lip service. And then when you go away, it's kind of a passive aggressive. And sometimes you get a confrontational type of resistance. So I'm adept to handling both ways. And I promise you that I'm there to help people and to make them better. And once they start seeing some positive results from what they're doing, I think that kind of washes it all away.
John, when you go into a dealership first time in, you see things because you're another set of eyes that has not been there before, but you can tell pretty quick if the store is well run, where the bottlenecks are or where they are likely to be. Speak to us about that. What kind of things have you seen coming into a store early on that you needed to address with, let's say, the Shon Kingreys of that store?
Yeah, no. And to your sentiment, I want to speak to the performance of a dealership and think of it akin to your sales staff or your service advisor staff. And you've got perhaps varying grades of performance within that staff. So you got, I don't want to personalize anybody to say that they're a bottom feeder, but you got people who are at the bottom of the rung and you got people at the top of the rung. Okay. Dealers are the same way. And yes, I can absolutely help dealers that are down here at the bottom and they got chaos and they got lack of staff perhaps, or they got, things that have been going for decades perhaps in the wrong direction. But a lot of times the most traction that you can make, and most times the most traction you can make, Ted, is with a dealer that is at a high performing level. Okay. Because they're going to take what you tell them and they're going to apply it and get even better. So, I can definitely work with both ends of the spectrum, but it is such a joy to work with people that take your advice and apply it and actually get great results. But one of the stuff that I typically see, to answer your question directly, Ted, is that is really fundamentals. The fundamentals are broken. And, we've put our staff, and through the COVID and beyond, we've put our staff in such a spot where, number one, we may not have enough staff to handle it. Number two, they're improperly trained or they're in the wrong seat of the bus to begin with. And so they're habituating themselves to taking shortcuts. Throw that in with the massive amount of customers that we thought we had an endless supply of until recently. And our processes are broken down. That's what I see is our fundamental processes have gone by the wayside. And it's awkward, and sometimes it's tough to rehabituate people. And guess what? Sometimes you really can't habituate somebody who has habituated themselves to taking shortcuts. But that's what I'm faced with.
Shon, how do you find the time? You're tasked with a lot of things there. How do you find the time to spend this one-on-one with the trainer and hear and see what he sees, and come up with a diagnosis for what needs to happen?
I think it goes back to what I originally said, Ted. You have to be bought into. Okay, it starts from the top. Any program starts from the top. If you're not bought in, then again, back to John's point, it's not a good fit. If the manager's not bought in, if the manager, John and I have visited stores where half the staff's off. That tells you, by the way, that manager's not engaged. All right, and that's a problem. And to John's point, John brought up a point that sometimes the biggest gain you get is from the biggest stores. Our largest store in the month of April will hit $1 million in gross for the first time. That's a 30% increase year over year, guys. That's $1 million versus 700, which is our biggest store. Why? Because everybody, the GM bought in, the manager bought in. I'm not going to tell you that all the advisors and the technicians bought in, by the way, because we still have those struggles in that store. But we can do a 30% increase year over year to the bottom line. Because everybody buys in. Why? Because you make time, Ted. Listen, everybody's engaged. When John sets his schedule up, there are some visits I try not to be there because I think we're more effective separate, depending what his message is. But then there's other visits where we make sure that we align, that I need to be there to make sure that our messages are the same.
Amen. I wholeheartedly agree with that. And that's really primarily what gives me such a joy on working on referral, Ted and Shon, is that, again, I'm out of the convincing business. Then I know that I've got a client that is going to actually apply what we've got. And if it comes from the top down, either everybody gets on board, or slowly we take care of that and really address the concerns that we have. Let's talk just a minute here, Ted, about methodologies, if I may, and the different things that we do as a company, Fairchild Automotive Solutions, to make sure that we're doing the appropriate thing and something that's effective for the dealership. Is we really got 3 levels of training that we do. We do in dealership, okay? And so that could be one-on-one at the desk, live tickets, live customers. I find myself interacting with live customers on the drive on behalf of the service advisor. I'm not afraid to take a TO. I'm not afraid to take a customer and really kind of model what we.
And by the way,
coaching the coach.
If I may, Shon, how important is it that someone like John can go ahead and do that and model that and interact with the customer directly?
Listen, I'm not going to put anybody on blast here. There are so many consulting companies out there, Ted, to be very blunt with you, that attempt to manage from the office. What's the worst place a service manager to do is be in the office. Everything has to happen on the drive. 9/10 of John's time is spent on the drive, where all the action is.
Yeah, and and I do have a training center in Atlanta, Georgia. It's called the Pinnacle Training Center, and we've been in operation for a couple of years. My mentor, Jonathan Dawson, actually started the center. We had been talking about it for several years, and now last couple of years, it's been a reality. We've done 21 classes there so far. So we've got a basic class, a fundamentals advisor class, and we've got an advanced advisor class. And then we do the same thing with service managers. So they tier to the next level. And that's been very, very effective there at the Pinnacle Center. And, a lot of my dealers, though, that really don't want to travel to Atlanta, Georgia, will have me do the very same thing in dealership. So I'll come in and I'll do workshop type classes, and workshop classes also work good on site, because then you can pull away from the drive. You can get distractions out of the way, bring the people into a room and get their attention for a short period of time, because that's all you're going to get, maybe an hour max, but then put them back on the drive and interact with the live customers. So both have attributes in the dealership. The third really venue or media that we utilize is remote/video training.
Okay.
And I feel like that is appropriate in conjunction with other types of training. And whereas video training on its own may not be as appropriate or effective all by itself. So I like the concept of video training, but I really feel like that in some cases, people just put video training out there and say, have at it. And you know as well as I do that it's a lackluster attempt to actually make it a useful training session, because people are already taxed to death with manufacturer video training. And therefore, you know, it just doesn't, they just don't pay attention to it.
Shon?
He's right. There are so many pieces to it. I can't, and again, this isn't a complete plug John Fairchild session, but if I told you how many, it is okay. No, I can tell you how many times that on a Monday morning, for example, like, you know, this week, where we're doing text messages at 7 a.m., setting up meetings at 8 a.m., by the way, and that's not part of his daily charges or whatever he charges to be a dealership, guys. It's because there's a hurdle that's been arose. I call them roadblocks. There's a roadblock that's come up, and we have to address the roadblock. And again, to say is, first of all, I'm guessing that when John visits, his schedule changes 3 or 4 times throughout the week to make sure it works for the store. That way everybody has buy-in. Because again, you don't want to show up and not have your manager there, not have all your staff there. Because if they're not there, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know, so really in a nutshell, Ted, the 3 methodologies and the overarching methodology I want to mention really with our company is one that I feel like I use this expression a lot is tough to take a sip of water out of a fire hydrant. And that's what I feel like it feels like on most service drives most days is there is a notion of overwhelm. And what is incredibly important is that we have 4 disciplines of execution that we are there to make sure that we are executing the plan. And, you know, what that relies on, Ted, is to have and maintain a cadence and a culture of accountability in your store. Otherwise, any training of any methodology is going to drift away. But I'm never there to open up I'm never there to open up the fire hydrant and flood everybody with too much information that they can't digest. But the exact opposite of that is actually true as well, is that I'm going to give them tidbits at a time. But I really feel like that we got to make those fundamental things a religion. We got to start with chocolate and vanilla before we add sprinkles on top. Does that make sense?
I admire, John, how you work closely with stores and how you really care about their success. And that's why you do these things. For example, as you know, Shon said, going back and forth on a Monday morning. John, for the audience watching today that realizes it's time for their staff to get a tune-up or maybe more than that, okay, and time for some real high-performance training on their service drive, whether it's in the conference room, at the Pinnacle Center, or right on the drive. And then supported by the different elements that you've got, the sustainment, the video, and so on. John, how does our audience reach out to you? How do they take a next step so that you can, you know, give them an idea of what's coming?
Yeah, and I do a free assessment. I want to make sure that it's a good match for everybody, and just reach out to me, right there, baby.
Okay,
my number. Text me. If you try to call me, I'm likely to be engaged with a client. So if you'll text me, I will phone you back as soon as I can, or you can send me an email. My email address is also right there at the bottom. It is john@johnfairchild.net. Hit me up, and I'm glad to help you if I can. It really is my pleasure and my passion, Ted, to help dealers. It's not all about the money. It's got to be the right fit where I feel like everybody is going to be in a win situation. So please let me know if I can help you. I've also got warranty uplift services that we do a really good job here. We've done over 400 of them to date and would love to help you with that also. And that includes a free assessment. If anybody needs me, reach out.
John Fairchild, everybody, highly recommended by the Fixed Ops Roundtable and the Fixed Ops Roundtable family. Some big things ahead this year for John Fairchild, everybody. John, on behalf of the Roundtable, thank you. And Shon, Kingrey, thank you both for all you do for the industry.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Two of the pillars, everybody, John Fairchild and Shon Kingrey, here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
My Karma, everything fixed ops in one place. The first truly unified solution for fixed operations. A comprehensive suite of key applications, deeply integrated with software and DMS providers, and open APIs that offer unprecedented opportunities for dealerships to build custom solutions. My Karma, a proven name with over $21 billion in payments processed, 423 million text messages transmitted, and over 9.5 million videos recorded. My Karma users enjoy an average 16% lift in RO dollars. And innovative solutions like our Advanced Scheduler Plus and Service Cart Video MPI transform the service experience.
What I really enjoy about it is the connection and the relationship building.
We pretty much use every aspect of My Karma that we can.
We went from a paper multi-point to a digital multi-point. It literally year over year, 350% increase in our net profit.
It is incredible. Online payments easy. The cream always rises to the top with this, and you know, My Karma has been the best.
Do you want to provide your customers with an exceptional car buying journey rather than just a transaction? As Carl Sewell advocates in his book Customers for Life, the key to ensuring customer loyalty lies in delivering an enjoyable and memorable experience. And that starts with assembling the right team. But how do you guarantee that you're hiring the best talent for the job? According to Sewell, one of the most effective methods is using a pre-employment assessment called the Trago Personnel Survey, which consistently identifies top talent and transforms company culture. While many dealerships recognize the importance of recruiting top talent, the challenge lies in identifying such talent during the hiring process. Enter GoTrago. With over 40 years of research and expertise in the auto industry, Dr. Trago and his team have been instrumental in helping clients like Sewell and many others figure out if the applicant can and will do the job. We adopt a scientific approach to evaluating candidates' behaviors and accurately predicting their job performance. Say goodbye to the frustrations of dealing with subpar hires. With GoTrago, you can transform your staff into the happiest, friendliest, and most reliable team your customers have ever encountered, ensuring customers for life. Let GoTrago guide you in selecting the perfect talent for your organization.
The Fixed Ops Roundtable is a name you can trust for the latest technology, tools, and processes in a fast-changing retail environment. Become part of the brand by visiting us at fixedopsroundtablecertified.com.
We've got the best mixtape in automotive. Rock out to the 90s rewind with the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Learn how this industry giant helps dealers become more efficient with Maureen Martin and Trevor Shannon from Dynatron.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. This segment is a special treat because we get to welcome our dear friends at Dynatron Software to the event. Many of you will know Trevor Shannon. Trevor recently appeared on our After Dark program. Many of you will be familiar with, this is her first time making her debut on the Fixed Ops Roundtable, Maureen Martin. Maureen is the Vice President of Strategic Alliances. Trevor, the Product Manager, Dynatron Software. Maureen and Trevor, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you, Ted.
We definitely have been participants watching and participating. And of course, Les Silver, our executive chairman, is a huge proponent of the Fixed Op Roundtable. So we're glad to be here today.
And we're glad to have you both, and Les as well. Les, as you know, a pillar of our retail industry and a pioneer in fixed ops. So many amazing things have come from. I'd like to say Les Silver has the golden touch, all right, but when he speaks, people listen. And we're very grateful to Les Silver and his support of the Fixed Ops Roundtable and within the community. And a chance to meet both of you here today and talk to you a little about our favorite topic, fixed operations. Maureen, we were chatting in the green room. So much happening right now in our industry. Tell us, first of all, what you do at Dynatron, and you've got a rich history in the industry, but tell us about that.
Yes, I'm 38 years young in the industry that we all love of automotive. I started out originally my career with Ford Motor Company, actually, the first 11 years. Primarily always on the fixed operations side, though. So I started in San Francisco, in Hawaii. Then I went to LA, from LA to Detroit. Now that's when Ford had the Rensen building. And then I came down to Dallas. So that gives you a little bit of a background there. I really had some kind of unique opportunities, though. I launched the first asset program for technicians. So technicians are near and dear to my heart, and probably one of our biggest challenges right now in the automotive industry is recruitment and retaining. And I also got a chance to learn a lot that has helped me when I did market rep for Lincoln. And I've always worked very closely with retail dealerships. As a matter of fact, the 2 years I did buy sells, relocated the stores in the Houston market. It really also is a time that we launched the Navigator. So I've seen a few things in my career along my road. And then I did 20 years of consulting with dealerships, a lot of training and consulting around culture, skill, and process, and how critically important all of those are working together to drive employee satisfaction, customer satisfaction, and profitability. So, and as we talked about Les Silver, I've been blessed in my career to have some amazing mentors, Jim O'Connor, Bill Stang, who was my regional manager here. And then I met Les, honestly, very early in my career, way back in the Nugent days and around the wheel. You know, Les always inspired me with his innovation, and he's always been so hyper-focused on retail dealerships, around their advocacy, around profitability and retention. So I was fortunate to be, sought out by Les when we had MPI, which you probably are all familiar with out here on the roundtable. I had a privilege to be a senior director of strategic alliances for him there. And, as we knew, we grew that company from 50 customers to over 1,300 in the US and Canada, and eventually were purchased by Solera. And then I had the privilege to join here 3 years ago. We were talking earlier, I was employee number 57 and I was part of our leadership team, and now we're over 250 employees. So the growth of Dynatron has been incredible, and it's really from, our ability to really move the numbers of profitability and retention in the dealerships. And we know that dealers need to do that. I have the privilege as VP of Strategic Alliances to work not only with our large dealer partners, but with industry leaders like yourself, Ted, and a lot of the companies that I see here on the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And dealer associations and our advisory council. And so we really get an understanding, and with the compression of margin on the variable side, there is a real need on the fixed operation side of the house. And but one of the things we've learned is, 98% of the dealers and GMs just never had that opportunity to come up the fixed operation side, right? Yeah. So they are super smart, entrepreneurial leaders in their community. And so one of the things that we feel as our contribution to the industry is to really embrace and create a culture that the dealer GM and the dealer principal and the service fixed ops and parts managers really work together. And, with not only having that business data, a lot of dealers will have heard about us at a 20 group or something like that. But if we say to them, do you use vAuto on the variable side?
for a used car, they'll be like, oh my gosh, yes. And I go, well, Dale Pollock calls us the, V Auto with fixed operations. And it's like, click, click, click. Data, market, comparative information, making very targeted incremental changes on your price optimization. And so it's been really exciting, though. We really enjoy it. And Trevor, as a big part of what we had done when Trevor first joined us, he was a coach. And I will tell you, they have incredible experience. They either were a service manager, FOD, platform manager with many years of experience. Retail hours are kind of tough. I think we'd all agree with that.
Yes.
And so we take that knowledge and they join our coaching team. And, we do about 97,000 virtual coaching calls a year. So we learn a lot. We learn best practices. And Trevor's a great example of, gosh, how do you harness that retail world and put it into product? And then Trevor is now our product manager and working directly with our Price Smart and a lot of our products that are driving results that you hear so much about. So Trevor, maybe just a little background for someone who hadn't met you yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Spent 20 years in retail, everything from started off as a porter, very, very young. Had a service advisor take me under her wing, start training me to write service and help customers, and excelled at that. Joined a larger automotive group and fortunately had a really good training. They had a career path program, put me on, a training path to become a service manager, became a service manager. I think it's 24, 25. So I was pretty young when I moved into the management side and went from there to fixed ops director, oversaw a couple dealerships at one point. And like you said, retail is hard. Hours are long and, customers can be challenging at times, employees can be challenging. So I stepped out of retail and took about a year off just trying to figure out what's the niche, where do I want to land? And I landed with Dynatron, which was phenomenal. I was a Dynatron client for several years, so really understood how they helped that dealership and how they really helped connect general managers to service, which I think there's a lot of disconnection, in general between sales and service. And then, typically our GMs come from the variable side. So a lot of times they don't have that fixed experience, and being able to help them and guide them and coach them and connect them with their service managers, through data-driven solutions and decisions, it's phenomenal, really is.
And what you're providing for the industry is spot on, and it's so timely. We talk a lot about at the Fixed Ops Roundtable how it's all about the hours. And really, that's just the beginning of what Dynatron does. Because as Les first explained it to me, and I knew Les's background, I knew his history, I didn't quite know as much in depth as I've learned over the last 4 or 5 years. But he said, Ted, there are profit leaks at the dealership that we can come in from the outside and help those general managers who came up through the sales side of the business and help them in establishing what needs to be done. Maureen, tell us a little bit more about what Dynatron does, because a lot of the dealers here on the roundtable are clients of yours and they are raving fans, and I can go on and on with the names on them.
Thank you. Gosh, thank you so much. Les always talks about the perfect price. And, it's really about incremental change. And it's when the retail price hits that what we call sweet spot. And that means you're not leaving anything on the table from a profitability side, but you're also still delivering a superior customer experience. And really, there's only 3 ways that you can improve revenue in a dealership, right? And it doesn't matter if it's an auto dealership or any business. You can either increase traffic, you can sell more to each customer, or the third part, which we usually say is the biggest opportunity, is to optimize your price. And so when we do that and we look at it, I had a privilege last week to be at 220 group meetings, right? And so, they're saying, okay, help us to understand, why do you start with price first? And you obviously, if you increase traffic or sell more, you want to sell it at the right price. But you can't, we've done a lot in our business by a gut, right? Like, here's what we think it should be.
That's how it's done, right? Yes.
That's how it's done. I've been 38 years and I understand that, back in the day. But now we have the ability to take your transactional data and you look at what are you doing? And then compare you against like franchise dealers, rural versus metro, looking at the markets that you're in. And it really makes a huge difference. And you need to know not only comparative to your like dealers, but also what is the aftermarket doing, right? And so when you look at those are really hugely important. But you got to kind of ask yourself 3 questions to answer when you're thinking about price. 1, how big is the opportunity? Is it worth going after? 2, why do I not know these hidden opportunities, right? These service leaks that we call. And then, is the problem simple or complex? And so I think it's important. So like in these 20 group meetings, like we'll go, okay, let's talk about it, regardless of whether you use us or anyone else. What do you need to do, right? And you need to understand what is that opportunity. So we can speak to it from obviously what our results are, but you could literally do this yourself. So when you first look at your CPELR, you take your average monthly total CPR hours. And we know that our average is $16.55. So if you take those average CP total hours, times it by $16.55, and then times it by 12 for an annualized number, I'll have them take it, write it down, and circle it. Go, okay, that's CP. And that is huge, about 75% of what we do at the dealerships. But we would then say that's kind of now put you in the position when you go to do a warranty filing. Yeah. We call that the icing on the cake, right? Mm-hmm. It's not the core, but it is a beautiful benefit, whether you do it yourself, someone else, or Dynatron does it for you, right? So, you know, when Trevor would work with dealerships and they work so hard on that CPLR, and then we get to the warranty labor rate, what would we do then, Trevor?
Well, at that point, you know, we've already coached and worked with them on the customer pay pricing. We then start looking through their ROs. Our software analyzes repair orders. We find the best set of ROs to submit to the manufacturer. And I believe our average right now is a 23.75 increase for warranty labor rate. Wow. So you can do that same exercise now that Maureen just spoke of, and we look at our warranty hours over a course of a month, your average month, multiply it by 23.75, and then again by 12 to look at what is that opportunity to look at, you know, over the 12-month period, a yearly increase. And I mean, the results are phenomenal. Maureen, do you know what
I got to tell you, in my meetings, they were around $500,000, from 250 to $500,000. And when we know on an average in our first year, it's 250K. But, you know, then you also have the opportunity for a warranty parts margin increase.
That's right, parts.
Yeah. We talk about you got to love on parts, right?
Absolutely. So we were talking about that, you know, earlier.
And you take that same philosophy, right? Like where you would do with your price optimization on labor, you do it on the parts side, like working with your coach on a parts matrix and really honing into where you want to be. I mean, we know if you take your current margin, we know we're about 19% is our average on the increasement. So for domestic, that's about $117,000 a year. For import, it's about $87,000, and then for luxury, it's about $105,000 is our average. So if you just even start to look at those 3 numbers and you put it together, you go, wow, this is significant. And it's about taking the data, but data is only as good as it's actionable, right? And that's where that partnership working with their coach really comes into play. And we would say you got to look at your CP first, then you look at your maintenance, and then you got to look at your compliance. You got to understand what the service advisors are doing. And you can do that manually by doing a 100 RO analysis, or you can work like in our case with a coach, but you get to understand daily, how do you affect change with behavior? And for us, it's having transparent information. So when you as a service advisor make a decision, here's what it does to the dealership. But here's what it does to not only yourself and your paycheck, but to the customer. It's just as bad to be over what management has said is the pricing strategy as it is to be under. And so you need to understand that. And that's how you coach, right? That's using data to be actionable with your people. And that really drives about $8 of that increase in CP is just from helping them to understand the compliance side of it. And that is below the line discounts, Ted. You and I have worked with discounting. It's a part of our business.
That's right. Yeah.
But discounts, you want to be visible to who? Who would you want it to be visible to? right? To the customer, right? So we're talking about below the line discounts that you really cannot see in the DMS.
And oftentimes, I was just going to touch on that. Your DMS doesn't give you that report. Your DMS will tell you what is the dollar figure of your discounts for a month, and you can measure that as a percentage of gross. But what we really hone in on is that service advisor changing the price. And there's no visibility to that in the DMS, and that's
none. Nor to the general manager or the decision makers at the store, who are most likely unaware of it until you call it to their attention. I think back, Trevor, to some of the early fixed ops roundtables when Les Sofer came on, and this was at the time when the whole world changed and everybody was online watching. And Les was speaking about the perfect price. And I've rerun that a number of times, Maureen, because that perfect price, how everything generated from that. And of course, I could see the slides now. I remember the perfect RO. And I remember Les taking us through the steps even before Dynatron, because you folks are the real deal with the things you're saying. When Les talked about the electronic multi-point inspection and how that came to fruition, he confided in us. He says, that was not the intended product here. There was another intended product, but he talked about how they were on an airplane, they got a napkin, and they started putting this thing together. And the multi-point the electronic multi-point became the big product years ago. So when Les started talking about profit leaks at the dealership, we all became very interested. Then some of our dealers, I'll mention Chris Saraceno, said, Ted, that Dynatron product down at the Kelly Automotive Group, East Coast, they're up in Pennsylvania and in Florida. Yeah. But he said they've made a big difference. Most recently, Tom Restino at DePaula over in Albany. He says, Ted, you wouldn't believe what they've added to the bottom line, okay? So talk to us how you've expanded from that, just looking at profit leaks, and you go into the coaching, and tell us a little bit more, Maureen, about what you do, and tying also into the techs and our love of the techs, but into things that you do that help the dealer that are really now on the next level.
Absolutely. Well, a big part of it was really working with our advisory council, which we're very blessed to have, from small, very powerful dealer groups to Hendrick, BHA, all of the different input that we get in the industry to understand what are their pain points, like where are they challenged? And then we looked at what were our best practices, like those dealers are most successful. So about 2 years ago, we really integrated the GM and the dealer directly involved with what we're doing. So we begin with the transparency. We pushed over 2 years worth of repair order data and transactional to really understand what their opportunity is in CP, in maintenance, in compliance, in warranty labor, and in warranty parts, and present a very transparent picture to them. And they then understand, wow, because one of the reasons they came on board with us, and that's a part of creating a safe environment, is we do a 3-to-1 guarantee. Like Kevin Smith, our president, always says, worst case scenario, you give us $1, we give you 3 back. Our average is a 20.4-to-1 return on investment in the first year, and 17 times the going on. So we've never had to do it, but it shows you that we're like, here's what we're going to do. Let's have transparency. Then we have our Start Smart, which really kind of relates that foundation, how to use the tool, but how to use the tool to drive your business. And it's going to be different for each dealership. We know best practices. We know how to help them. There's dealer analyzers. Trevor, talk a little bit about how you use the comparative performance group and how that helps you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think everybody's resistant to change. And, it's easy to tell a dealer, oh, you need to raise your prices. Anybody can do that. But when you can go in with all the data and show them, you're a GM in, Northeastern United States, here is the average ELR, here is the average prices these dealers are, charging for these services. Also, another thing that I think is really overlooked is labor time. We find a lot of dealers that they've been paying 1.8 hours or 2 hours for alignments for the last 25 years. They've had 2 to 3 different alignment machines that really just improves that technician efficiency every time they do it, but they never look back and adjust that labor time. So being able to show them, hey, I understand you're at 1.8 and it's always been 1.8. but the national average or the average in your virtual performance group may be sometimes as low as 1.2, 1.1 with these new state-of-the-art machines. So being able to look at those, and then in the same aspect, we often find that maybe they're underpaying their guys, and that's why they're not selling a service. So really just being able to have all that data to analyze it, high level looking in, you can approach that service manager, or we really like to work with the general manager and say, hey, here's what that small changes mean to you in a dollar figure. It's astronomical what 2 or 3 tenths can, lead to profit over the course of 12 months.
I think everyone knows that a key driver of net profit is fixed operations, but when you really think about incrementally how it flows to the bottom line at a velocity much higher than variable, right? So we can show them, if you make this small change, here's how much goes to in a snap, in a dealer analyzer. But it has to be complemented though too by market data. And so quarterly, it's very important, whether you do it yourself or Dynatron does it, that you do a market study. You pick 2 vehicles, the mileage, and 5 services, and you go out and you get 8. And if they're not coming to you, they're likely going to who? Not usually another dealer. They're usually going the aftermarket. So
That's our competition. Yeah,
that's our competition.
The customer drives by all those aftermarkets on the way to the dealer. Yeah.
And we always say that it empowers you to do a dare to compare, because the perception versus reality is they think even your own service advisors, you went out on the drive, are going to say, oh, we're more expensive because we're the dealership. And we will show them 90% of the time they are not. Right. So they can then also start with their own people, again, using data to make actionable change, but then create a dare to compare with your customers. And it's okay to not be the cheapest, because we have the best technicians, we have the equipment, we use OEM parts, we have the conveniences of loaner cars, all the things, and the investment we make in our technicians. And when you really do that, you come through at that very beginning and that start smart, then they go off to a 2-day executive workshop, the dealer or GM and the service director. Corporate execs are always welcome. And it's a real boot camp. And I will tell you, we will have dealers, it would come to us. Like I think of Bob Giles, he was Time Magazine Dealer of the Year. And Bob says, can I do a testimonial for you on that executive workshop? 2 best days in my 30 years on fixed operations, because you're surrounded with other dealers at a similar point. You're pushing each other to understand, and you're setting the groundwork of an action plan that takes you into stay smart. And we have dealers who've won this 10 plus years, right? Because the market's always changing, your people change, right? So when you take a look at that, think about the data. It's really critically important. We've been 27 years dedicated to fixed ops. We analyze over 100 million ROs a year, 97,000 coaching calls, right? So that kind of information allows them, because they have so much on their plate. But service is the largest sales department in the dealership. And so we make a lot of correlations between variable and fixed that I think really resonates and brings them closer together.
Everybody, you've met Les Silver. Now you're meeting the great people behind Dynatron Software. Maureen Martin, Vice President, Strategic Alliances. Trevor Shannon is the product manager at Dynatron. Last question for you both today, and very grateful for you both to come on and take us through that. You're spot on with what you're saying, both. If our audience wants to find out more about Dynatron, I know they've heard it from their peers. Like you said, they probably heard it in their 20 group or here on the roundtable. What is the next step, Maureen and Trevor? How does our dealer audience reach out? What's the best way? I see the website, DynatronSoftware.com, scrolling by. What's the best way to reach out?
Absolutely. Going to our website, DynatronSoftware.com, is a great way. My contact information is mmartin@DynatronSoftware.com. You're certainly welcome to reach out to me. I will connect you with our right folks here at Dynatron. I encourage you to ask a fellow dealer. I think it makes a big difference. A lot of focus has come around how do we then take it to the next level. And I think Tim, Ted, we were talking, I was talking with Tim, one of our guys from our advisory council. We had announced that we have a partnership with NCM. on a fixed ops virtual performance group. And it is a Dynatron composite, and it complements the traditional 20 group because they're financial statement based, whereas our composite, because the Dynatron customer data is transactional, it really creates a composite that takes it down in that next level. But it is, again, the GM or dealer and the service manager and parts managers are welcome working together. And then you have that peer environment. NCM is moderating that for us. So those are opportunities that are out there for current Dynatron customers they may not be aware about. But certainly we're happy to help anybody. And you have many partners on here that, you know, one of the things Les has always said is stay in your lane and do it better than anybody and partner with others. You know, you think about all the revenue that we generate per dealer, they've reinvested in their people, their culture, their technicians, the service advisors. Those are really key elements for us, getting ready for their facility on EV, all of those types of things. And so, you know, for example, if you look at spend management, it's the next best thing, right? Strategic Source is a partner of ours. You know, UVI and some of our advisory council are huge with that. You know, you had Bill Demery on just recently, Michael Weldon from Hansel, you know, a lot of these partners. And I know Les has talked a lot in the area of technician. We do have a capacity and forecasting that is really critically important to dealerships to help them to understand what's the work mix of their technicians, when do they need to get ready for another one, and how are they going to meet numbers if they have a tech out for training, for example. So those would be some of the next steps, I would say, and certainly things that we can do to help.
Well, Maureen and Trevor, I want to bring you back, Method of My Madness, to talk about those next steps, including the performance groups. I want to bring you back on, we'll be back. We have 2 more roundtables this year. So I'd like to invite you to come back and tell us more about that. And what a great conversation today. And Trevor Shannon and Maureen Martin, great honor to meet both of you here today on the roundtable. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Ted. We really appreciate the invitation. Thank you so much.
Everybody, Dynatron Software here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Opportunities for revenue growth are out there, and they're closer than you think. The problem is most service departments lack the time, software, and data to see these opportunities. They're in the dark. That's where we come in. We help shed light on revenue growth opportunities hidden within your data. Dynatron gives you the tools, coaching, and knowledge to maximize your service department revenue. From optimizing labor rates on maintenance and repairs to helping with manufacturer warranty labor rate and parts markup, our training and software gets you the most from your data. We illuminate these revenue opportunities with 3 fundamental solutions powered by our ROI suite and expert coaching. Price Smart. Our Price Smart solution drives additional revenue through price optimization. Charging the perfect price for services maximizes revenue while maintaining retention. Pricing compliance. Holding service advisors and technicians accountable to avoid costly mistakes that can lead to significant ELR and retention erosion. And parts and labor warranty filing. Price optimization and compliance prior to filing maximizes the process, which leads to larger revenue opportunities. Where other companies just file, we maximize and file. Sell Smart. Our Sell Smart solution is a customized, dealer-specific, technology-enabled sales training program for your service advisors and management team. It focuses on improving each advisor's revenue-generating potential with continuous improvement. Small but consistent changes add up to big results. Market Smart. With Dynatron's Market Smart solution, we analyze your service department data to develop custom, multi-channel marketing campaigns that target existing and new customers. We guide additional traffic to your service drive, resulting in tangible ROI. Powering these solutions is our ROI suite and expert coaching. We take your repair order data, process it through our proprietary algorithms, curate new data, and combine to find new insights. Then, our expert coaches guide you through our proven turnkey process to discover new opportunities and deliver results, ultimately seeing a 5x to 15x ROI each year you partner with Dynatron. Managing your service department is hard enough. You don't need another vendor. You need a long-term partner. Don't stay in the dark. Accelerate your service department revenue today. Visit DynatronSoftware.com.
Our next segment features DaBomb.com, David O'Brien from Quantum 5.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Our great colleague and friend, David O'Brien, the CEO and co-founder of Quantum 5, is with us today. Dave, I saw the title of your segment, The New Morning Meeting, and I had flashbacks to my days in retail, but not in service in the sales department. Welcome back to the Roundtable, Dave.
Hey, Ted, how are you? It's great to be here. And morning meetings, I still love going to them. So along with flashbacks, I get more recent memories as well. Yeah.
You know, there are so many reasons to have a meeting with the staff. And I want to talk to you today about how we can do that on the fixed operations side. Dave, I think back to, again, I'll mention sales, right? Every morning, and here we are in the middle of the month, as we start approaching later in the month, we all want to save a deal, put deals together, get all the minds together in one room and figure out how to do it. And Dave, it's pretty much the same concept, but now applied to that other important department.
Well, yeah, I mean, Ted, I was blessed to be part of the great Pat Ryan organization that became Resource Group, right? And we were always out helping dealerships do save a deal meetings. And when I think about fixed operations, right, to me, it beyond being a save a deal meeting, I think this is a plan for success meeting, right? So in sales, often, right, it's a very reactive meeting, meaning they're looking at who came in yesterday, who are we trying to get, contracts in transit. Somebody owes us a little money. We didn't get some paperwork signed. It's doing what came into the CRM. What should we do about it? And I think in fixed operations, I think if we believe what you and I do and so many of your guests, right, which is we're the core of creating customer retention and customer loyalty. And therefore, putting them through anything other than an experience that had a plan, that included thinking of what could go wrong and are we ready for success and all the ingredients that bubble up to create that, I just think we're putting more at risk than we should. And therefore, I thought this would be something that we should start talking about on the roundtable.
So Dave, to get started, kind of lead off, first of all, who should come to the meeting and when should we hold the meeting?
Well, let's start with the first one, right? I think we have to be able to gather our advisor team. I think we have to be able to gather dispatch, right? I think this has to be a meeting that includes the continuity. I think if we have a service BDC, somebody that leads that should be there. Okay. If we don't have a service BDC, then we should have somebody from our appointment setting team, the reception team, right? We should have the key ingredients. We might even think about having a key person from the parts department there, somebody that mans the desk that's taking care of technicians all day long. But we should have some of those key ingredients there, whether it's Ed Roberts' store that's going to have, a whole lot of ROs that day, or, a smaller store somewhere in America that's going to have 100 ROs that day, right? We should be looking at those repair orders, and we should have the people there that can talk about how are we together going to create success for this 100 people. Your second question was, what time of day should we do it?
Where?
Well, I know you and I have talked about this a little bit in the past, and I'm a morning person. Mornings may not work for every drive. So I'm going to say the time of day should be the best time of day for your dealership.
Okay.
But what it can't be is not done. It can't be skipped. It shouldn't be relegated to a time when you go, we're too busy, and we generally aren't. What I worry about in our leadership training, right, when I'm with leaders, right, one of the things I always try to talk to them about, and I don't know if you do this too, but I ask them to tell me what their morning's like. And I go, so seriously, just write it out and tell me from the time you get up till the time you drive into the dealership, what do you do? And what I try to get leaders to do is think about, most of us forget to slow down and do any planning during that time period. We don't do any, hey, what are the 3 most important rocks I have to move today at my dealership, right? What are the 3 things I have to have my team ready for success today? Because we're busy people, not because we're bad managers, not because we're lazy managers. We're just busy, right? We got families, kids to drop off at school, helping with the little lunches, take the dog for a walk. I hear it all, right? And what I think is, as a service manager, I need a team who's more ready, because again, I'm responsible for customer retention. I'm responsible for customer loyalty. Therefore, the experiences my team creates, starting with that first customer, they're a big deal. It's not just nothing. It's a big deal. So I put morning in our topic for you and I to talk about, but what do you think?
I think I agree with you that it's the time that works best. And, if the door opens in the morning at 7:30, ideally everybody's fresh, get them in early and do this before that first vehicle rolls onto the service drive. In some cases, it's going to be in the afternoon, different time of day. I think it depends, but we do agree, Dave, it's got to be done. And, that kind of leads me into my next question. What do you think is the number one reason that service centers lose customers or are unable to keep customers?
So I'm living the life currently of being a civilian, as I like to say, right? I'm living the life of being a civilian right now at a dealership near my home. I have a Jeep for the last year and a half, and I really love it. It's one of the 4xe hybrids, but I don't know anybody at this dealership. And for all the folks watching this, you know that people like Ted and I, we love knowing you. We love that when we go to get our car serviced, we have a friend waiting. And at this dealership, I just don't know anyone. And so I've been living the life of a civilian. And when I go to the dealership, I'm now so confronted by what I wish was happening to keep them from losing me, right? I live in a town where I don't have a choice. It's 70 miles to the next Chrysler Jeep dealership. So I say to myself, as soon as all this warranty stuff's over, I think I'll get my synthetic oil somewhere else. So my list of what do we have to do? Let's make everybody not feel like a civilian first and foremost, right? When I go to the dealership, I'm greeted with, what's your name? What's your appointment? Versus, hi, welcome, right? I don't feel connected to them. And in my 3 service visits so far, they haven't worked to change that. I think the second thing on my list, because I'm living the life right now, right, is I wish that they would know my vehicle and know me. In other words, Ted, I think when I get there, I wish they didn't always ask me, so how do you want to pay for this when I bought a maintenance contract for the vehicle, right? They just don't know stuff. So it doesn't create any feeling of loyalty. It doesn't create a feeling of relationship. And I think that relationship stuff doesn't translate to trust for me. For example, I have a filter or a seal that's leaking, right? Well, they've brought me in one time now and said, oh, we got the wrong filter. They have not called me back to tell me they got the replacement filter. And I don't feel like, okay, I matter to them. So I think it's some of the simple things. I don't think it's, gosh, did I build the fanciest, shiniest floor? Did I have the world's best cappuccino machine in my lounge, right? I just don't want to feel like a civilian. And I think when we talk about the preparation for the retention, the things we ought to be talking about in that meeting every day is, how do we plan to make Dave, who, gosh, it looks like He bought his car from one of our sister dealerships 3 hours away. How do we make him feel part of us? What are we going to do today? Hey, wait, Dave's coming back for the third time for a leaky seal, and we haven't gotten the right seal twice. How do we change that today? What are we going to do to make this experience different? I think have to be part of those conversations, Ted, or they lose me. They will eventually lose me because I'll be at a place where I can go, my maintenance contract's up and I can get this stuff done anywhere. Does that make sense?
Yes. So this comes back to communication, Dave, and being ready for the customer. It sounds like a great coaching opportunity, like you said, for the coach, the manager, to identify that you've been there 3 times for that same reason and to want to make you part of the family. And leading on to my next question, Dave, what should be asked to set a proactive plan for the day in one of these meetings?
You know, I think we first have to talk to each other about what do we have coming towards us today. I think we have to talk to each other about what customers are coming. What do we know? And again, my life as a civilian, both times I went, I had an open recall. They said, no, I didn't. I held up my app. I shouldn't be telling them that I have an open recall, right? I shouldn't be holding up the Jeep app going, it says right here that I'm supposed to bring it to you for this recall. I think we have to be prepared for the notes. Hey, look, a great service BDC or a great appointment scheduling team at a dealership, right? They've done some good notes for me. I should be able to look at those notes, and with that team in that room, I ought to be able to go, so you said, the customer said, this is going on, and it happens when it's cold and after they've been driving it, right? So I have good data, but I should confirm it. I should be looking at somebody who has 43,900 miles on their Tacoma, and guess what's due at 45,000 miles, 1,100 miles from now, right? I should be preparing in my mind, how ready am I for that? What do I want to be thinking about? What else has happened to that vehicle? Have I seen them since the 30,000 mile maintenance? And Ted, let's be honest, right? They're putting really good oil in these vehicles. And look, my maintenance cycle has extended. I might not even remember these people. So I could look down and it truly could be somebody that hasn't needed to come to the dealership in 9 or 10 months. Who were they? Why don't I remember? Well, oh, wait, now I do remember.
Good point.
Oh, and the last time that lady was here, she was carrying a little baby seat because I remember we had to get the base out to put it in the shuttle van to get her home. And I think we should be preparing for a relationship. We should be preparing for the work that should be done. I think we should be looking at miles. We should be looking at the notes that came from my team to get me ready. And I think as a team, we ought to be prepared to go, okay, so how busy is the shop tomorrow? What's our capacity? What might be roadblocks? What do I need to be prepared to say to them if this turns into a this? Right? I just think that those conversations with the right people in the room make a whole ton of difference with the attitude and confidence I go out there with when the door opens and my first person's there.
You said a lot of things just there, going back to the 3 times that you were in for the same issue. Is it an issue that only one technician in our shop, let's say Marco, handles? And if anybody else but Marco handles it, it might not get done properly, but Marco's going to handle it right. Let's make sure that this vehicle gets assigned to that technician. You mentioned the 45,000 mile service, having the menu ready, having the presentation ready to show the customer what's going to be included in that. I'm thinking service histories. I'm thinking open recalls, like you just mentioned, being proactive and letting them know, Dave, good news, we're going to take care of that for you today. Or if there's no open recalls, Mr. O'Brien, good news, there's no open campaigns or recalls on your vehicle, showing the customer that we're ready. So that preparation goes a long way.
There's great news in green on a diagnostic, right? And we also have to celebrate that because you've helped me understand over the years, right? It's an important part of trust building is that I provide affirmation when things don't need to be done.
Okay, so once a dealership gets these meetings going, how are they going to affect both the retention of service customers? It would seem obvious to me there, but also the retention of the team in terms of that communication amongst the team members.
Look, one of the things that has to be included in that meeting is something that we at Quantum, when we do our team meetings, we call IDS, right? We identify any issues, we discuss them, and we work on solves, right? So from a team perspective, if we have things that come up, this is the meeting where we can identify them. This is where we talk about them. And this is where we get a solve done. We don't wait a day or 2 days. This is a meeting where we have enough trust in each other as a team to go, hey, dispatch, so this is an issue last time this customer came in. Okay, what are we going to do different today? How do we get success? And we work to solve. Hey, reception team, scheduling team, BDC team, look, there's no notes here. How come this person skipped putting good notes for me? Do we need to help them train more? Do we need to teach them more about questions? How can I help that team get me better notes, right? I'm a big fan of advisors not having to be administrative assistants, right? Which means that my scheduling team also made sure the most current address is there, the most current email is there, the very best cell number to contact them is there, right? Oh, wait, here's one that's coming to me tomorrow. Wait, no, there's 2 that I'm missing some of that stuff. Right? So as a team, when we can work together and trust nobody's going to lose their temper, this isn't going to come up in the heat of the moment later in the day. Hey, how do we fix this? Because here's my issue. Let's fix it. Let's find a solve together. I think those incorporations into a morning or an afternoon meeting bring a team together for customer retention, but you can't have customer retention without good employee satisfaction and good employee experiences. And honest, hardworking problem solving together is a big part of that.
We're speaking to David O'Brien. He is the CEO and co-founder of Quantum 5, the leader in this space in our industry, about the new morning meeting in service, being proactive, being ready for our customers' business that day. Dave, you already gave us a lot of examples of different proactive items that can come up during that meeting. Any one particular action item that, as you think back at, that has been maybe the most successful, something that you've seen out on the drive that has been implemented here?
Yeah, I'm going to borrow from a really good friend of mine, Dave Anderson, a good friend of the Roundtable as well, right? Dave has an acronym that I'm sure many of the people listening know well, and it's called EDMED, EDMED, right? Every day means every day. The one thing you can do to create more success on the drive is that if you decide to do morning meetings better, you may not incorporate every single thing Ted and I talked about here right away, but every day means every day, and every day we gather, and every day we work towards creating a better and better meeting that translates every day to a better and better customer experience. We don't have to make this meeting perfect overnight, and we don't have to change everything we do on the drive overnight. But what we need to do every day is gather and work towards, how am I going to get 1% better today? And then I'm going to get 1% better tomorrow, right? I started the beginning of the year walking, right? I said, I'm going to walk 3 miles a day. I got to tell you, I didn't get there in January. I got to about 2 miles a day. And then I got to 2.5 miles a day. To this month, as March ended, it was the first month of the year, I got to 2.8 miles a day on average. I'm okay with that. I'm not mad at myself, because every day means every day, and every day I go walk every day. And I want advisor teams and management teams to understand, don't get upset with yourself if these meetings are hard at first. Don't get upset with yourself if everybody doesn't show up like they should, and therefore you figure, let's just quit doing this. Every day means every day. Dave Anderson believes it. He's convinced me over my career. And start doing the right things. Just start. And then get 1% better. And then get 1% better. And if that means all you did was review histories, if that means all you did was review open recalls, if that means all you did is read the notes and prepare yourself in case there was the opportunity for a maintenance presentation immediately, just get better every day. That's the best advice I can give, Ted.
Dave, what a great best practice today to share with us on the roundtable. And congratulations to you and the Quantum 5 team on all you've got going. These past 5 years at the roundtable, you've brought and continue to bring so much to the table. And I know you're working on a lot of exciting things, not just in any one arena, but you're doing a lot on the retail side. And you've elevated our game in terms of also deploying technology into these best practices. So again, congratulations to you, Dave.
Thank you, sir.
Dave O'Brien, CEO and co-founder at Quantum 5. You can reach them on the web at quantum5.ai. His email is scrolling at the bottom there. He's active, very active on social media, and he's built a great team that's growing at Quantum 5. So, Dave, thank you so much on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you, Ted. We appreciate you very much, buddy.
Dave O'Brien from Quantum 5 here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
So being a legacy automotive retailer, we've used a number of different companies over the years to help us train our people and educate our people on everything from sales process to customer service to you name it, anything relating to retail automotive. But in today's world, particularly since COVID, we really set out to try to find a partner that had a much more progressive, contemporary approach to automotive sales, automotive service, customer relations in general. And when we did that, our research led us to the folks at Quantum 5.
Anything that you can do consistently the same way gets better. So what Quantum gives us the ability to do, or has taught us how to do, is follow a very specific framework that delivers a very specific result every time. And that has been invaluable both to our veterans that have been in the business longer than me and the people that we're hiring new. Quantum came into the store as a partner. They've executed on that on every call, every interaction. And what our veteran staff finds to be the most beneficial is they get to continue to learn.
We know that Quantum is more than a vendor, they're a partner. They're actually a part of our business, a core part of our business and our daily processes. When I got into the car business many, many years ago, it was about control this, control the customer, control this. Well, now customers have as much information as dealers, so now it's more about controlling the process, understanding the customer. And that's what Quantum brings to the table. It allows you to have control of a process, understand your customer and your customer's needs, and deliver the relevant information that they need to make that informed decision, ultimately in purchasing a car, but starting with gaining that critical appointment. Quantum puts our client advisors on a pathway to prosperity. Our newer advisors see our seasoned advisors and the success they're having, and the fact that they're bought into the system and they've been on this system for years shows the new client advisors that if you buy in similarly, you're going to yield the same results, if not better. I can't speak enough to what Quantum has meant to our business and to the growth and development of our client advisors.
We're taking customer service to the next level on the glass management software panel.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. We have heard a lot about auto glass in-house at dealerships, and today we are presenting you with an expert panel. With us today is Mark Haeck from Glass Management Software. Mark's been on the roundtable before. Also with us today is Tzaczyk, who's the Director of Collision Operations at the West Her Automotive Group. They are the largest franchise retailer of vehicles in New York State. You will recognize Tully Williams, the Fixed Operations Director from the Nilo Group in Sacramento, is with us, and Ed Roberts, the COO of Bozard Ford Lincoln in St. Augustine. Gentlemen, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you, Ted. Glad to be here.
It's great to have everybody here. Chris, first time, welcome. We've been hearing a lot about West Her. I know about West Her. I lived in that Buffalo market for a number of years, and great job that you are doing. And now we want to learn a little bit more about auto glass. So thank you for joining us today. Mark, let me start with you first, though. What is the number one reason why dealerships should handle auto glass services in-house?
I think it's a smart move. It's a money maker, but why pay that money out to a third party? We did a look here recently of our customer base, and I narrowed it down to just the dealerships. And we've got dealerships doing a little bit of glass. We've got dealerships doing a lot. On average, we're seeing companies make $500,000 a year just from their auto glass revenue. So, I mean, there's money to be made out there. Why share it with somebody else? ADAS calibrations has increased the income potential. It's not just the glass now, but with ADAS, I see crazy stuff in the industry where an auto glass shop will do the glass work and then send it off to the dealership for the calibration. Why not do it all, guys? Yeah. Make all the money. I don't tell my glass shop customers that, but seriously, I look at it this way. The dealership is uniquely positioned to totally handle service on a vehicle. Why outsource any part of it? Why send your customer down the street for one part? Because the next thing you know, they're going to be doing it for something else.
All right.
So it's a moneymaker. We're seeing it grow. I see some opposition to it, but we're seeing growth in that area.
Chris, let me come to you over at West Her. We're hearing a lot about bringing glass in-house. You've done it now for a number of years. Tell me what brought upon the move to do that and your thoughts.
So the genesis of it originally started with our collision centers. We were using sublet vendors, like Mark had alluded to do a lot of our glass work. So not only coming in for easy removals and reinstalls as part of the collision repair process, but also buying all of our glass from sublet vendors instead of from ourselves. But as the technological pieces of cars started to advance and cars became more towards adaptive driving systems and safety systems and things such as that nature, glass became a real big piece of that component. So not only from a keep our customers in our ecosystem, we want to keep our customers in the dealership ecosystem and make sure that we can supply every bit of service need that they have for their car, one-stop shop, if you will. We also are thinking about our customer safety. These vehicles now are affected by auto glass. So there's the component of aftermarket versus OEM. We're very leaning towards the OEM piece of that because the vehicle manufacturers strongly recommend that for the safety of customers. And so cars operate exactly the same way after you've done a windshield, per se. So we want to keep our customers in our ecosystem. We want to keep them as part of Team West Her for us, and also ensure that we have safety as top of mind for our customers. We have certified technicians working on these vehicles so that we can keep our customers and the vehicles operating exactly as they're intended to.
Chris, somebody recently on the roundtable said this is all about repeat and referral business. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. Your customers are generally already in your dealership because they like what you do. So keep them liking what you do and let them have that repeat and referral business back to you, not only for service and sales, but also for auto glass work as well.
Tully Williams up in Sacramento. I understand you're not doing this just yet, although you may be. Tell me some of your thoughts.
So we do OEM glass, and at some of our stores, our BMW stores have been doing it for years. And it started as is that why are we letting the good business go somewhere else? Why are we letting someone come on our dealership in a van with his name on it or her name on it and put the glass in? Why can't we do it? Yes, we're not going to get our door rate. It doesn't matter. When we look at it, it takes 4 hours to put a glass in a BMW. What technician doesn't want 4 hours? Now we're going to do it at $260 an hour? Of course not. But our goal is to bring all those hours and that glass in-house. And we also look at it as the BMW started, before I even got here 5 years ago, is that all of a sudden we realized that Jag Land Rover loves to break glass. God bless America. And when you sell glass contracts, what do they want to put on? OEM glass, $2,500. And we get to put in, 4 to 5 hours to put it in at list price. I mean, what more can you ask for in this glass? So now all of a sudden, all these technicians, guess what they want to do? They want to learn how to put glass in cars, and now it's the next great craze. And what's going to help with Mark's product is that we're going to start working on when we do our used cars that are not OEM, because we're used to OEM brands, is we're going to start working on non-OEM glass, and that's where that's really going to be exciting for, because we do glass for a body shop, but now the calibrations, like Chris said, is a huge deal. Do you want a person practicing on your car to calibrate the brakes, or do you want a factory trained technician to work on that to calibrate the brakes? I say I want a factory trained. So think about glass is more hours for the shop, more dollars for the shop, and of course it's repeat referral business. Make sure the customer doesn't go anywhere else.
Ed, your thoughts?
Well, Tully, spot on. If we're in the repeat and referral business, we want to own that customer for life. And if we want to own them for life, it wasn't that long ago that we used to send them down the road for tires. Now there's not a dealer out there that doesn't do tires. So every time there's something that we send customers down the road for, we ultimately end up finding a way to bring them back. Well, why aren't we doing that yet here? And then tying the technology piece. But it wasn't that long ago as well that windshields was just glass. Now there's so many elements that ties into the windshield. You got heads-up displays, you got the cameras, you got so many things that ties into it, the calibrations that has to happen. We're the most in tune with it anyway. Let's make it right to begin with, because as soon as we start calibrating something that somebody else put in, now it's our responsibility. So even if there's something wrong, it still comes back on us. So take on the responsibility. Don't send your customers down the road. Be in the repeat and referral business. Take care of your customers from start to finish.
Chris, were there any challenges? And if so, what were they that you came upon as you embarked on this basically new business?
Oh yeah, definitely challenges. I could say that there were quite a few. So some to name a few would be finding the genesis of somebody that can help us, understand things about a business, because we didn't want to just go after only our customer base with customer pay or warranty. We wanted to look out there in the insurance realm too. We wanted to capture customers that we didn't already possibly capture. So finding ourselves somebody, an industry expert that could help us get this thing off the ground was something that was critical for us. We were able to find them and bring them aboard on our team and kind of help us understand the business that we had never been a part of. So once we got that going and kind of understood what it was that we needed to put our energy and our efforts into, we could start going into, all right, well, how are we going to market ourselves? How are we going to make sure that our customers and our community know that we do this? We figured all that out and kind of got that done. And then, well, where do you store all this glass? Because it's fragile stuff. So trying to find space to put it somewhere and make sure that it can be safe. And then thankfully, we're very lucky. All of our service bays are always full. All of our collision bays are always full. So space, where are we going to do this work? So then we had to find locations and where we can do this work. So industry expert had to get one of those to make us and help us understand what we're looking at and what we're trying to do. And then actually working with Mark and his team over there to get some software going. That was something that was really critical. So partnering up with his team and using his software to help us control our business model.
Chris, you're right. I hadn't thought about that, to store that glass. And also temperature-wise, Rochester and Buffalo are not actually are not the most moderate climates, especially during the winter months.
Yeah, they are not. They're definitely known for being quite cold. A lot of we dump salt on the roads over here, so we break a lot of windshields with salt chips. That happens a lot.
I noticed on your website at West Her, I didn't have to look too far, and it's very prominent. You've got 3 locations for glass. Talk to us about that and why you branched out into 3 locations. Tell us that.
So we're spread all over Western New York. We start in the Buffalo market, and then we work our way up through Rochester, and then we do have a store in Syracuse. So we're spread quite a bit across of our community. So we wanted to make sure that we had locations that would be the most convenient for our customers to visit. There are still some companies out there that like to travel to your home or travel to your business and do that glass work, but we're trying to shy away from that so we can have a controlled environment, make sure that we can control the car, and we want to bring customers to us. So in an effort to stay convenient for our customer base, we wanted to locate those stores where we could service our own shops and service our customer networks in areas where they're kind of congregated and concentrated. So 2 in Buffalo, 1 out in our Rochester market to kind of hit all the spots.
Mark, what other challenges have you come across? Because I know you work with a wide variety of dealerships in many locations, not just in that snow belt there on the I-90.
Yeah, Chris hit on, I think, much of what we're seeing. Finding somebody to get you started. Training is another issue. Once you've got that person that has got the expertise, experience in the industry, now getting, trained personnel, people that are certified. So we've been around long enough. We've got some connections in the industry. We can even help you get some of that taken care of. Getting the word out, I think you need to get outside of the box a little bit. It's not just a matter of putting your sign up, but you might have to put some feet on the ground. How many dealerships have thought about going and talking to insurance agents?
No money.
Yeah, get them to refer their customers back to you,
and that's brand new for us.
Accounts.
Chris, I'm thinking, I'm just kind of imagining what Tully and Ed are thinking right now, because here are 2 big dealership groups, big dealerships who focus on the customer experience and customer satisfaction. What's the impact of having in-house glass, Chris, on the customer satisfaction?
Well, I mean, we've seen really great gains in the customer satisfaction. I mean, you have a customer who really came to you by choice. And, to Ed's point, why are we pushing our customers out to another outfit and then entrusting them with part of that customer service for the whole finished product? So we're not really sure if that's going to go well. So we already know that we do these things well, and our customers come to us because they believe that, and that's what they're looking for. So we have seen really great customer service gains with being able to do things all in one stop. We can send our technicians to a service center. So if the vehicle's in there, customer may call us and say, I have a service appointment. I'm getting X, Y, and Z done on my Subaru, but I also have a broken glass. Can we make this all happen at once? And the answer is absolutely. We sure can. You don't have to move your car. You don't need to have another appointment. You don't need to do this, do that. We're going to handle this all for you. So customer service is also priority for us here at West Her. And I can tell you that being able to do another thing or 2 for the customer all in a one-stop shop and make their life simpler certainly contributes to that.
Tully, I know you may have some questions. You and I have been on panels in the past talking about ADAS and ADAS calibration and how important that is and how that continues to grow and grow in our industry.
It does. I mean, that's the importance of glass. And I think Ed's spot on. It said tires. It's like tires, right? We were in the tire business. We're not in the auto body business. We're not in the glass business. Yes, we are, right? So how do we do that? What is the customer when they walk in the driveway and they have their car serviced on a yearly basis for the most part, is who do they talk to? Who do they trust? Is their service advisor. And the best way for us to talk to them about their glass is the service advisor will talk to them about our body shop, which is factory trained and factory certified. We sell factory tires on your car, not cars that are hopefully are at Costco, right? And we sell factory glass or glass that matches a factory, and we can install here and your car will be done by a factory trained, not a person that practices on the automobile. It's a factory trained person, because the security and safety for the customer is at far most. Why would they need to go anywhere else? And your goal is to bring it all in house. And the best person to help market that is our service advisors in the service department. Now, when it comes to glass, we do sell glass contracts at F&I, as F&I is our friends in service. Is that the part of the question is going to be, if you buy glass today, guess what? We will take care of the glass contract for you inside our service department to make sure it's done by a factory trained technician, not a person practicing on your car. So there's two things going to happen with glass. One, we can sell it in the box when they buy the car. And next, we're going to talk about glass as we talk about tires on every visit. So they know what happens when my car has a problem. Guess who they call? They call their service advisor. And that service advisor can advise them what to do next. That's the key here, is what we focus on and have factory trained technicians is the key to make glass successful.
And this sounds like making glass a part of your brand. It clearly is at West Her. And a lot of the things that Tully is saying lead up to that as well.
Absolutely. It's anything that we do to send our customers away from our store is our fault. We have to take ownership of that and do something with it. And we talked a few minutes ago about the technology that ties into it. Think about the sound deadening that comes from the factory windshield versus something else we may be putting in there. And then we may be discounting what the customer's perception of their vehicle is because it doesn't sound the same. It doesn't operate the same. It doesn't do all those things. And if we don't control those elements, if we don't handle those elements in-house, then we're putting ourselves at risk. And we're putting ourselves at risk to lose that customer to a different brand, to something else, because they're no longer getting the same experience that they started off with that vehicle. So unfortunately, at dealers, we usually take the path of least resistance, and it's been easier to let somebody else come in with their trucks and do it. And then we say, okay, well, our first line of defense is, well, we can't make any money at it. Well, if a guy can buy a vehicle and inventory that up and haul it around in the back of that vehicle and come into your property and do that work and make money at it, there has to be some money in it. And so if there isn't a way to make money in it, maybe the way we're doing business right now, there's not. And it's time to circle around. Like Tully said, am I going to make the same rate? No. Am I going to make money on it? Yes. And think about the number one thing that we do the most in our service departments. We provide a service to our customers to change their oil. And we don't make money at it. But we do it for what reason? To keep them coming back. Same thing here. Everybody has a glass experience somewhere along the way, whether they're up in upstate New York getting hit with pieces of salt, or they're down here in the land of the orange cone and rocks or something's flying up from the construction trucks and it happens. It's not a matter if, it's when.
And I would imagine, having been to Bozard, that your organization is very competitive. You offer a great customer experience. And I look back at a couple of years ago when you got into the mobile game with those first couple of units, and a lot of people said, well, we're not quite sure how that pencils. And I'm thinking about the oil change, and I'm thinking about the tires, and now I'm thinking about the mobile service. And now, Ed, I'm thinking about the glass in-house. And this all follows that same parallel.
Well, like you just said, it follows. We are traditionally followers in the automobile industry, and we need to lead the way. And we can wait until someone chews our lunch up here, or we can step out there and take care of it now. And it's okay to be a trendsetter rather than being a trend follower. And the opportunities are now to be the trendsetter and not wait until we have to do it. Because when we have to do it, the talented people that we want to do it are no longer available because the trendsetters took them. So let's get in it now.
Hey, as a consumer, who am I going to think is the most knowledgeable on my vehicle?
The dealer.
Isn't it the dealership?
Yeah,
absolutely.
So why am I going to somebody else to service my vehicle?
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
That's just kind of an oxymoron, if you ask me.
Exactly.
Chris, you're the director of collision operations at the West Her Automotive Group. How does bringing the glass in-house contribute to your group's overall competitiveness in the market? Because I know you've got some folks here who are very competitive on this panel.
So again, I'll circle back to the one thing is making sure we're keeping our customer in the ecosystem. So we do want to be able to do everything, not move that work out. I know it's been said a couple times already today, but we don't want to move that work out to a sublet vendor. We want to be able to keep everything under our roof and take care of everything for our customer, make sure that we can control it. We do also benefit for speed, that we seem to be able to do things a lot faster when we can control them rather than waiting on a schedule of another outfit or a separate vendor or something along those lines. We make the schedule. We set that schedule. We can do things now. We have urgency and we can handle it immediately. It certainly has benefited our collision operations where our own team is waiting on standby to come over there and service the collision vehicle in the collision business. So that's great. And being able to sell glass from our OEMs and have that stuff in stock, we can operate and deploy vehicles right away. If we have a customer that needs a piece of glass, chances are we have it right there already in stock. We're storing it, so we can go ahead and get that deployed right away with our schedule on our timeline, rather than worrying about using someone else who has a whole bunch of other customers and they're just going to try and fit us in when it's convenient for them. So that is definitely a major benefit to us.
And Chris, give us an overview. Where does the business come from? You mentioned insurance companies a little bit earlier, but as a dealership gets into the in-house glass business, what are some of the new avenues that are open to dealerships? If you wouldn't mind maybe sharing your thoughts with us.
Well, majority of the work does come from insurance carriers, but here in New York, we have to do state inspections. So everything is inspected annually for everyone's car. And in New York, if you have damage to your windshield, that fails an inspection. So because we do a lot of inspections, hundreds of thousands of them annually, we have quite a few customers that have compromised windshields. So that's an opportunity right there for us to be able to have another upsell, capture the inspection, but also do that for our customers. So our business comes internally. Our customers not only rely, to Tully's point, on their service advisor teams and their relationships with them, but our sales force. Our sales force are great salespeople for them. A lot of times a customer will have a new car. Maybe they didn't have a glass experience before. They're going to call their salesperson as well because they trust them, and they're going to ask their salesperson, what is it that I do? What should I do here? Well, we have that referral business coming right back to our own teams from our sales force. And then, of course, there's advertising like you had spoken about on our website. And we do some things in our service drives to make sure the customers who are waiting, visiting our service teams also know that we do glass too. So that's kind of the thing. It comes from business. It comes from our own internal environment, our collision centers, our service teams, our sales teams, and F&I as well.
You know, Tully, I'm thinking about California. I know you've probably got inspections of vehicles, and I'm listening to all the opportunities here, Tully.
You know, we don't have a state inspection. We have the smog inspection, and honestly, the first 5 years are free. But here's the deal. Every car comes to us every year. We see every customer every year. Our retention's at 70 plus at some of our stores. We make people happy. The Neals have been in business for 102 years. We're not going anywhere. So our point is tell the customers that come in the driveway, we have glass, right? When their car gets in an accident, they bring it to Nilo Collision. When they have a problem with their tire, they bring it to the Nilo company. If they have a problem with their glass, they need to bring it to the car dealership. Who better, like Mark said, who better can work on the car than the car dealership? It's all about making sure they're educated in the service drive. And that's the challenge. You know, it's so funny that our service writers, you know, want to sell hours, right? Why won't we want to sell glass and remind them? It's just something we have to put in front of them and talk about that and have handouts in the driveway, have stickers on the ROs. It's just another thing that we do. Guess what? We sell tires. Oh my God. And oh my God, we have a body shop. And oh my God, we sell glass, right? That's what we got to tell our customers in the driveway because they trust us, right? That's the reason we have great CSI and we have great retention because that's what it is all about. We don't want another van with somebody else's name in it to come on our lot.
Ed Roberts.
Tully nailed it. Why would you want to give away your business to someone else? And we've done it for decades, and then we go try to find out how to get it back. And we're doing it here. And right now they're having to bring it back because they can't do the calibrations and they can't do those things. Just capture it, do it all. It is our business to begin with. Let's put the processes in place to take care of it. And then we take care of the customer from end to end. Like Mark said, as a consumer, I think the best people that can take care of my vehicle is the dealer. Well, if the dealer says, we can't take care of that, is he going to think that the dealer is the best place to take care of that vehicle in the future?
I love it. So let me come over to Chris and then Mark about getting involved and taking the next steps. Chris, was it difficult to get started? Give us your perspective on that for the audience watching today who are thinking of getting into the in-house glass business. And then I'm going to come over to Mark to tell us how we do it.
Was it difficult to get started? No, actually, because we did it in stages. So to where we are now, it was difficult. To start it, it wasn't, because we only started it with our own internal business. We didn't have it available to customers. We basically wanted to test drive ourselves and our business model before we roll this out to the masses and said, all right, everybody bring your glass to us. We're going to be able to handle it. But we didn't want to fail, so we wanted to start small. So we started small. We started only servicing our own cars, our own inventory, and our own collision centers. Once we were able to master that, it did become a little bit more difficult to become certified with the insurance carriers. There are a couple of insurance carriers that use one specific network to go ahead and do a lot of the pay and the claim process and all that stuff. So partnering up with Mark and his team, finding our industry expert to help us get us off the ground, that was the most difficult part. And then inching and clawing our way towards capturing some of those customers from our market was a little bit of a challenge, but we kept at it. We kept, putting it in everyone's face and making sure that they knew that we did glass. We do glass. We do tires. We do collision. We do everything. We also do glass. Don't forget about that. So it was a little bit of a challenge, but once that word got out and we did a whole bunch of customers and we sure as heck made them happy, just like we do all of them, word started to spread and everybody now knows that we do glass. When you need anything on your car, you need to call us and we can do it all, including glass.
Mark, Haeck, help our audience. How do we get started, Mark?
Give me a call. Seriously, West Her, when they started, the fellow they hired to help get the program going had worked for one of our customers for a number of years. And it was fun actually watching them grow from that initial site now to 3 locations. And it was just exactly what he said. They're into the insurance. They've developed, they've expanded. They got out of just the collision shop, have a facility, and I've seen this elsewhere. They have a facility that's their auto glass center. So it's not hidden, tucked away. It's out there where it's local and it's visible. And then it's getting the software that can help you do the billing, help you do the lookup, help you order the glass, help you manage the business on the technology side of things. And that's what we do to help get things going.
Tully, I know you don't get excited too often, but I'm excited. This is like a dawn of a new day here in fixed operations.
I want to tell you, when you see a tech that at BMW makes 4 hours to put glass in, okay, as flat rate techs, it doesn't take 4 hours, right? And then when I was at our service manager dinners that we have, and I was saying, hey, I asked the BMW stores to talk about glass, and they all of a sudden the other guys are going, whoa, wait a minute, how do we get in that gig? I said, we got to get them trained, and the trained is probably the hardest part on our side, is to get factory trained on glass, because factories don't have training, right? So then we share resources between stores. But if you want to get technicians excited about making hours, talk about selling glass. Glass is a great deal, and if you're all about the hours and not the money, glass is a great gig. It's just like tires. You're not in the tires for the money. You're in the tire for retention, and you're in to sell hours. That's what it's all about. Glass is exactly the same thing. We're super excited about glass in all of our stores as we install. I just can't wait to start putting on used cars and all the other cars that are a collision center. That's the best part.
Ed, I'm excited as well. And Ed, I think we've also found, in addition to Mark, today we found a new superstar for the Fixed Ops Roundtable in Chris from West Her.
Absolutely. I have a question for Chris in just a moment that I want to touch on that we didn't say in just a few minutes ago that Tully just dangled the carrot out there on. Think about all those used cars that we bring in here. And the opportunity is there for those things to not have to sub that out to somebody else. We control it in-house. And Chris, my question for you is, do you guys do glass?
I think we do glass. Yeah, absolutely we do glass. Yes, we do.
Everybody,
guys,
Mark,
somebody's somebody said that's timing's everything. There's another thing that I think plays well to the dealership right now, and that has to do with timing. There's a lot of guys in the glass industry that are getting ready to retire, and they don't have family members. They don't have somebody coming along to take on the business. So you're going to see a lot of those guys that were pulling in with trucks going away. Well, who's going to do the glass now? And it really makes sense for the dealership to snatch that business up and, again, do the whole job, not just part of it. A lot of the consumers out there that don't understand as well the integrity of the vehicle, structural integrity that lies within a good glass job. So there's a lot more tied to a vehicle today with glass than ever before. So I'm excited to see what's kind of this transition and seeing more dealerships do the whole thing. Don't just sell me the car, take care of it afterwards.
Everybody, if you want to reach out to Mark Haeck at Glass Management Software for Dealerships, you see the information on the bottom of the screen. He's very active on social media. I know the last time Mark was on the roundtable, folks called me up and said, how do I get a hold of Mark? Well, here's your opportunity, everybody. He's very active on social media as well. Mark Haeck from GMS Dealerships. I want to thank Tully Williams, Ed Roberts, and Chris from Wester for being on the panel today. Eye-opening. I learned a lot and took a lot of notes, everybody. So very grateful to all of you. And Mark for opening this door to the Fixed Ops Roundtable as well. Everybody, Mark Haeck from GMS, Chris from Wester, Ed, and Tully here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Bye-bye.
The Fixed Ops Roundtable Certified Program is designed to help preferred dealers and partners with powerful tools and resources.
Learn more at fixedopsroundtablecertified.com.
Meet the legends of Fixed Ops in our next panel with the Fixed Ops magazine.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine, and we're here with the Fixed Ops magazine panel. Ron Overs, we've got quite the crew here today.
Wow, this is the all-star crew, isn't it, Sarah? Incredible.
Yes, Ron, well, go ahead and take it away. Let's get down to the questions you want to ask our group here.
Sounds great. Well, you know, it has been a great year, right? Here we are in May. We're almost halfway through the year. I think there's no one here that would say that it's been other than a great year. A lot of good things have happened in fixed operations. Things continue to be positive. We're seeing a lot of growth. But what are your plans for the next half of the year? Let's start with that and just talk about from what you've seen the first half of the year, where are your plans going the second half? Tully, you want to jump in?
Love to. Yeah. Thank you, Ron. I think that we look at our last year was a great success. The first quarter, had some challenges because it's the first part of the year. But, when we look forward, we are super excited. One of the big things we'll be pushing is tires heavily, with our tire machines are being finally installed. So we're very excited about that. Looking to sell at least 50 to 75% all red tires. And then next of all, our focus is on retention. It's always been on retention, but we're going to try to make it more of a focus where we want to get all of our stores at 70. We have multiple stores at 70 now, but to have that holy grail, the importance of repeat and referral business to me is huge. So tires drives repeat and referral. And of course, getting everybody on that same page and making a big effort to push that number. With our BDC up and running, we're super excited. And that's going to help drive those numbers where we want it to be.
Sounds like a great plan. Scott, Gregg, how about yourself?
Pretty much along the same lines. Tires are big for us. They always have been big. We've been really big in tire sales, but we're going to continue to push that more. We are trying to, again, just like Tully said, going for 70% on red tires. We're around in the 50s right now. I'd like to get that up to 70. Tires are a big retention piece. If they buy tires from you, they're going to come back and service with you most likely and eventually buy another car from you. So that's a very important part of it. And then customer satisfaction, we're looking at that really hard to see what we can do to improve that and to earn the right to keep serving these customers again and again. Retention is a big thing. We're pretty good, about 67, but I'd like to be 70 again, just like Tully said. So kind of echoing him there on everything, but that's what we're really pushing for, to get up in the 70s on retention, 70s on red tire sales, and just keep these people coming back and selling more cars to them and servicing the new cars. So that's what it's all about.
Beautiful. Good plan. It sounds like things are working for you.
Yeah.
Tom, how about yourself? What's happening at West Herb?
So one of the things that I've been trying to do is to be a good partner to our variable team. As they're dealing with compressed margins this year compared to the last few, trying to find some ways for them to add those grosses back into the deals with things like accessories and some different option packages that we've been working with them on. But then not to beat this horse, but we've heard tires twice already. If you are not in the tire game and you are not gearing up for tire season, especially here in Western New York, I mean, it's May, but snow is tomorrow. So we've got plans in place to make sure that we're stocked up with tires. We launched the new website so our customers can shop and buy tires online, through our direct inventory, set their appointments that way. But then also setting up our BDCs for those tires that are in the yellow in April, May, June. You should be calling those customers in September, October to make sure that they know, hey, those tires are not going to be good for the winter. So being prepared for that, I think, is going to be a key for us.
Sounds great. Shon, what's happening in Wisconsin?
Well, it's not snowing anymore, thank God. I can say that. Because as we know, we got snow in April here. And I think everybody knows that John's a partner in all of our stores here, all 8 of our locations. And for us, it's all about retention, and it's about growing what we already have. I know Ed and I were on a group text a while back, and what the new industry average of growth is 4 or 6% year over year. We set the bar at 15 to 18%. And in Q1, we were 16.8. Goal in Q2 is to hit that as well. And really, it's maximizing every opportunity, because if that's one thing that this group struggled with, was doing that, is, listen, you got to take care of the client that's in front of you right now. And that doesn't mean you got to blow them out or you have to do every manufacturer program. And that's what we've really strived with. We've grown with that, and we're continuing with that. Obviously, we're maximizing warranty. Every opportunity we have, we're maximizing, because you have no choice. And again, we talk about it every one of the panels. Sales is off. Sales is struggling. Floor plan interests are out of control. Where it was a credit a year ago, now we have 150, 200 grand a month of expense. So that's a big flip from where we were a year ago. And again, if fixed absorption isn't in your vocabulary, you better learn it real quick.
Really good point. Ed, what's happening down in beautiful St. Augustine?
It's a third of the year's gone, and I'm enjoying the weather here. Yes, the things we've talked about thus far is important. And what the two things that we're really focusing on this year is remote. One of the two is remote. We want to really blow that up to where our customers do not have to come in here if they desire not to. Not if they get lucky enough to get an appointment, but we want to make it available to them. If they desire not to come in here, they don't have to, and we'll take care of them. But we want to shift that to, or grow that to a point to where they never have to come in here, whether we go, whatever those situations may be. But also the other thing that we're working on this year, and we're making great progress in it, and we're trying to do all of our sales transactions this month in it, is digital. All digital, no paper. It keeps us, we're in better shape with compliance, but it isn't just in the sales department. Our big push this month and here in May is to do every deal digital. We haven't made it yet. That was the goal. We're not going to get there this month, but we're probably going to be 92 or 93%. So pretty strong, but carrying digital throughout the store, because then we're not looking for those paperwork. It just adds to the efficiencies of everything that we do. So those are our two priorities, making great progress with it, and looking forward to tomorrow.
Not to divulge my complete age, but in 1980, when I was working for Xerox, they said that the paperless office was right around the corner and that we would never need to make another copy within the next few years. Here we are, 24. So
yeah, we will not be paperless, but we should be able to handle transactions paperless.
Absolutely. No, great plan.
Yeah.
John Fairchild, what are you seeing out there? What's going on in your world?
To wrap up what everybody else is saying and to really play off of what you were just talking about, paperless. Remember, the other thing, Ron, was that we're all going to the metric system.
That's right.
And neither one of them really transpired in this country and was effective. But, I really think that the second half of the year is a continuation of incremental improvement. And that really, what Shon was alluding to, is maximizing every interaction. And we've seen some slowdown of repair order counts in not just Shon's group, but everywhere I go around the country. And so what do you do in that case? Well, I will contend that human nature is that you may have habituated yourself into taking a shortcut. Maybe we weren't doing multi-point inspections on repairs because your transmission guy was 7 deep and he didn't see the value in it. Maybe we weren't really doing a proper walk around with a customer. Perhaps our menu presentation execution was lackluster, and now we're going to have to revisit these things. And like I said, humans habituate themselves, and in a lot of cases, we've habituated ourselves into a shortcut. And now, as awkward as it is, we have to relearn that. And it's all about execution and accountability. And the next hour, the best hour that we have, the most profitable hour that we have to sell, if you want to call it selling, or to advise to a customer, is on a repair order we've already got that's open in our shop. Mm-hmm. And as long as we going through the protocols, one thing that strikes me as far as preventative maintenance, now we talked about red tires, and in general, if something is red or a safety item that we're recommending to a customer and they're leaving without having it done, yeah, they're going somewhere else. But exactly the opposite is true on a preventative maintenance item, because it is such an intangible. It does take 2 or 3 or 4 times before my customer will really take my advice in a lot of cases and take me up on that service. And again, exactly the opposite is true. And so if I advise somebody that they need a service, and then the next time they come in, I don't ask them about that previously postponed service that they declined previously, then my credibility is shot. And so really it's about the incremental improvement and taking, I like to always say that you can't get a sip of water out of a fire hydrant. Everybody on this panel's heard me say that before, but it is so true, because if I try to dump a million things on my people, it's not going to get executed. And then my wherewithal as a leader is eroded, because the next thing I come to get them to execute, they may give me lip service. They may start doing it initially, but they know that, and Shon and I were talking about this very thing, that they can wait me out. And that's what I don't want to happen. So we are being very careful to strive for incremental improvement, as slow and as painful as that is. Then once we get the basic down, Once we get chocolate and vanilla, then we can start adding sprinkles. So that's kind of what we're doing the second part of the year here, Ron, is just to really continue to execute on the most fundamental things.
Beautiful. Well, let's talk about what's new and where we're going to go in this next, the next 6 months. Let's start with Sarah. Sarah, tell us what's new in Sarah's life.
Yeah, there's been a lot, hasn't there? There's been some exciting announcements. So just to announce it on here with everybody in this panel, one of the exciting things that I've done has been to join the Fixed Ops Roundtable officially. So now I am vice president of the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And this has been so exciting for me because the Fixed Ops Roundtable has been a huge part of my life in the last 4 years. So in 2020, I was with Tully and Ed and of course, Teddings, our gracious host. And, that was really kind of the stepping stone for me in a lot of aspects of the rest of my professional career. And so it was really exciting to get to network and connect at that event with so many like-minded professionals. So for me, the exciting thing that I'm looking forward to in the back half of this year, in the next 6 months, the roundtable itself has grown tremendously in the last 4 years. We've seen it go from a one-day event to 4 days now. Here we are at a 4-day event, and we have hundreds of speakers and hundreds of great minds like everyone on this panel with us today. And so the part that I'm most excited about is just continuing to shine a spotlight on the people that are doing the great things in our industry to empower their people, to bring positivity and really a great culture in their organization. So Ron, that's what I'm most excited about, is just continuing to share the stories.
Well, congratulations first, and we are all the beneficiaries of this. This is great that you'll be part of this each and every roundtable, and you have so much to contribute. You've been involved with BDC, you've been involved with all kinds of different training. You will be a great asset to this whole organization. Congratulations. We look forward to it. The year ahead, it's going to be a lot of fun for sure.
Thank you, Ron.
Yeah. All right. So now tell me what is, other than finally the tire machines have landed. Okay. So you've got those. Yep. Other than that, what else do you have that's going to really just take this year and move it ahead for you?
So I think that, I think our fundamentals that we do, our driveway processes and in our service, MPIs and videos, we do a good job at. We're always in the green. We do, it's kind of accepted, right? But I think the next step is that the quality of the video. My goal is to make sure that the technician is the shine here. Are we shining the light on the technician, not the service advisor as much? They're the person that's diagnosing the car. They're the person that is actually asking for the recommendations and theories. So, we do a lot of tech video contests. It's up to $2,000 winner for when we do it usually do it every other quarter. But I think that we want to focus on them turning the camera around the other way and actually showing their faces more and promoting our great technicians, making sure the videos are not long-winded, short and sweet, and making sure, of course, we have quality pictures. And then the next step, of course, is really working hard on, it's hard to monitor, but rider update videos, 5, 10, 15-second videos update. Is my car ready? The parts are in, the technician's working on it. Trying to work on those quality videos to keep the customer updated. I think people like that. I see a little video of the technician working on the car saying, hey, I should give you a call back this afternoon. George back here's working on the car. We should get back to you. Appreciate it very much. Here's your update. Those kind of things to me, I think, are the next level of trying to get that customer satisfaction to drive retention.
I think you're right on target with the video MPIs and making those better. I've seen some great examples and some really awful examples of some videos. And, some of it's so funny, like, what's important is that we get their license plate. And it's like, no, what's important is that you develop a relationship between that customer and the repair guy so that the customer feels confident that what he's being told is true. That he's not being told.
We've learned a lot on that side where the technician, would turn into it, they explain the car and how it was built. Customers don't want to really hear that. I think it's more about, thank you for coming in. We did a full inspection on your car. There's some things that need immediate attention. Your brakes and tires are. I mean, that's, we're thinking simple is better, and we've gotten great response from that. And if someone needs a technical thing on something like that, that's a separate video that we can tag to the quote. but we want to make sure that the customer says, wow, that's my technician. George is a great guy. I'm glad he's working on my car. And maybe next time I'll come in, I want to have George work on my car. That's what we want.
Great point. Great focus for the rest of the year. Besides that darn tire machine, that's going to make you $1 zillion. You're going to get that, get those video MPIs really cranking up and working. Scott, Gregg, how about yourself?
Along the same lines, video MPIs are a huge thing right now. We've got so much wonderful feedback from customers on them. They absolutely love them. The technicians are hesitant to do them. That's very true. We had one technician that has a shoulder injury, wasn't able to work on cars anymore. So we found out that he's actually very good at videos. And we kind of made him our videographer, but we've also put him in charge of training the technicians and helping them get more comfortable with doing the videos and showing their face, like Tully said sometimes. And an important thing with the videos, I think, is selling the green. You've got to sell the green to the customers. Don't just tell them everything that's wrong with their car. Build that trust bank with them. And then when you do actually show them something that's wrong, they're like, wow, every other time they've told me my car was great. This time they told me something's bad. There must be something bad. And they're going to, be all in on it. And especially when they can see it on a video, it's almost a no-brainer to sell anything anymore with that part of it. So that's a very important part. And it's working really well with him teaching the other guys how to do it. A lot of them are just doing their own now, and eventually we're going to move him into something else. But it's been very helpful just having him train people.
So it's such a key thing today, right? Everything is here we are on video, right? It's important. People want to do that. Even in our crazy magazine, we're putting QR codes with every article that you can go out and see just an interview with a person. Why did you write this article and what are you doing? So it's really important. People want to develop a relationship to some degree so that the trust is there and to make it work. But your point about the green, talking about the green items as well as the red, I had my first example of that was up in Buffalo, New York, with a Lexus dealer that was like, hey, the good news is all this stuff is right. In fact, your brakes probably have 2 more visits before that's going to happen. Start planning toward it. But this is where you are. And, it was so reassuring that, they weren't trying to, sell me tires at 6:30 seconds. They were just like, let's get a plan together. We want to be partners with you and make it work. And it really does build the trust. So
it does. It's very helpful. And a lot of customers have to budget as well. So if you can kind of give them a heads up that, hey, 6 months, a year from now, you're going to have this big repair coming, they can prepare for it. And when you finally do tell them, okay, it's time, then they're like, okay, yeah, let's get it done. I'm ready for it. So that's very helpful too, and builds more trust even.
Makes great sense, Scott. It really does. So how about you, Thomas? What's happening in West Herr for the next 6 months, and what do you see are the bright lights ahead?
Some exciting things. Next month we'll graduate the first cohort out of an advisor training program that was built out of our BDC with the goal of intentionally starting to close the gender gap at the service desk. So our BDC again is traditionally 98 to 100% female. Fantastic people that are in that department, and so we've launched this training program that's a 6-month training program. So the first cohort will graduate 4 out of that group, and we hope to again by the end of the year graduate another 4 to 5 that will fill the floating advisor roles for the group. On top of that, we're working pretty hard looking at all of our operations. As we talk about customer retention and trying to bring them back in the door, one of the key areas is reducing friction. We need, as dealers, we need to make it easy to do business with us. So our mantra moving forward is we start with yes. We start with yes, and then we figure out on the backside how to get there. So everything from our websites and the way that we schedule online, the way that they're optimized for mobile, looking at all of those different operations to determine where we can reduce that friction and make it easier for our customers to come and do business with us.
Sounds great. Sounds like you're right on the right path. Shon, how about yourself? What are you planning on the next 6 months?
I think, what we've done here is we've done a lot. We've grown a lot. We've put a lot more on the bottom line. But I think, and John and I talk obviously on a daily basis, guys, we haven't even scratched the surface. And I'm not proud to say this, and Tully's going to look down on me in a second. Guys, we don't do video inspections here. And I'm going to explain that. Tully, no, I know, Tully, I know. Listen, we were on a panel together and we talked about next year is our 100th year here, okay? We have a lot of technicians. They're all around the dealership for those that have been here, that all these plaques of the techs that have been here 40, 30 years, okay? 30, 40, whatever years. Guys, they're old school technicians, and it's going to be a culture change. So the growth we've grown has just been doing the fundamentals on the service drive. So as we go into Q3 and Q4, we got to go behind the wall, and it's got to be the technicians the next room to grow. Eventually, you're going to run the low-hanging fruit in the service drive. Not that we want to have room to improve. It's going to run out. 99-year mindset. It's true, though. It's not a bad thing because there is a lot of seniority back there. There's a lot of knowledge, but there's also a lot of prima donna back there, too. So it'll be a culture change for us. The leaderboards were a culture change for us. But guess what? Now, if you didn't have a leaderboard up, the world stops. They look for that every morning. So that's the next step for us. And we know that, John, as I said, John and I talk about it regularly. We know that our next room of growth comes from the back end, not the front end.
The good news is room for growth, right? Lots of it.
Lots of room for growth.
So that's the cool part, right? You're not just looking for a way to get another 12 cents an RO, right? There's room to make things work for you. So and you've identified it, and off you go to make that work. Ed, what's happening for you in the next 6 months?
So I won't say for the next 6 months, but I'll tell you what we do here. Every day I ask my team, what is your opportunity? And I want to hear that they're working on something every single day. And it could be the same thing over and over again, as long as we are truly working on it. But I'm going to put that in a little bit different element, and some may think this is grim. At some point, one of our days will be our last day on earth. And if we knew it was going to be our last day on earth, is what we have planned for the day, would it be the impact that we want to leave behind? So live every day like it's your last, and make every day count as if it's your last. And if I get up in the morning and I ask myself, if today is my last day, would I be proud of what I'm going to do today? And I need to be able to tell myself, yes. And there's going to be days that I have to say no, because there's things that we have to overcome, with things that we have to do that we may not be proud that we have to go overcome them and do them. But the key is to say yes more than no. And when we do those things, we leave an impressionable impact behind us. And we have other people that emulate those things, and they do those same things. So it's about, what are we going to do today? And then tomorrow it's, what are we going to do today? And then what are we going to do today? What's our opportunity? And over time, that becomes that big picture of what we're chasing over that 6 month window.
It sounds like a great plan. Sounds like something that's going to get people motivated to want to get things accomplished and move ahead and find new things to do because they've accomplished, the last item.
Keep rolling forward.
Oh, that's great. John, what are you going to do the next 6 months that's new and fresh?
Wow, Ed, that was heavy. And I'm still trying to figure out how hard it's going to be to procrastinate from now on if I'm figuring this is my last day. But you're right. You got to focus on what's ahead of you. And I think that what's new and exciting, or what's new for the next 6 months, really is a continuation of what I was talking about earlier. Just like Shon said, is let's go ahead and add those sprinkles to the chocolate and vanilla. Tully's example is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And you hit on it a little bit, is the rapport that you build, the credibility and the trust that you get from your customers. Now, I call those emotional deposits. Every time you make an emotional deposit to a customer, two things happen. Number one, if something happens out of your control or in your control, that's a flub, that's a mistake, that's a glitch in the matrix, they're a lot less likely to treat you harshly and a lot more likely to overlook that. And the other thing is when I've got a recommendation for a customer, if I've made those emotional deposits, now they're a lot more likely to listen to what my recommendations are. And that's what he's hitting on. And those are the incremental changes that we can make once we've made a foundation. Shon tells me all the time is, why are you looking at adding technicians when your overall shop productivity is 65%? Right, Ed? I mean, does that make sense? Why would you add technicians if your productivity isn't anywhere near what it could be? And so I think the continuation of the year, just like he said, is we got to go behind the iron curtain, behind the wall. We got to start really incrementally executing. And as Ted likes to hear me say, create a cadence of accountability that people are actually executing what we need them to execute. And that's where our incremental improvement is going to come from. And just like I said, last comment is, the easiest, the most profitable hour we have to sell exists on a repair order that's in our work in process.
Good point. It really is.
Mock.
Yeah, working what's right in front of you, right? And make the most of that opportunity and make it happen.
Yes, sir.
All right, so take for a moment that you just were dropped into a new store, kind of like Shon was not too long ago. And what would, so now you're going to go walk into somebody else's fixed ops department and you're going to say, look, these are the things that you really need to work on first. Here's the priority to turn this place around. And by the way, the place you went into, you're in there because the last guy left a mess. Okay. He did not leave this thing, at $800 per RO and, and just everything just rattling. Okay. It's a mess. So where are you going to start and what would you do first? Because there's new guys doing that right now, right? Just click on LinkedIn and you'll see, hey, I'm the new fixed ops director of, and you're like, I wish you well. I hope you do really, really well there. You got a big challenge in front of you, bud. So tell me.
No, I agreed. And I can really shed some light on that is, two things to begin with is that you've got two in general types of scenarios that you get dropped into. One may be where they're a top performing group or dealership and that any type of improvement that you can bring them is going to be, any nugget is going to be taken to incrementally improve. The second is what you spoke about is having a broken situation that you go into where you've got to shore up operations to begin with and make sure that the fundamentals are being executed first and foremost. But the really functionally what we do for dealers, Ron, is serve in three aspects. And the first aspect, and I know those of you on this panel have heard me say this before, but for the larger audience, perhaps, the three aspects are really similar to the three aspects a service manager and fixed ops director has to have is number one, being a consultant. Okay. And I'll explain these in a minute. Number two is being a trainer, a teacher. And number three is being a coach. And so that's what I do in any engagement to begin with, Ron, is that I've got to be the consultant. I got to know what works. I got to know what doesn't work. I got to know how to analyze the situation. I got to be a DMS expert. I got to pull that data out because if we don't properly set up that engagement for success, then anything else that we try to add to it is not going to stick. So if their processes electronically or otherwise are broken or disheveled, that's the first thing we need to start at. And that really contends with generally having a menu, a digital playbook, and as Tully is near and dear to his heart and others too, and a scoreboard. And so primarily the first part of the engagement, Ron, is making sure that our setups are intact so that we can go forward and measure if we're improving and how we can add additional resources to make additional improvements. But in general, it's a whole host of different things that are happening from poor pricing strategies to lack of execution to really lack of coaching from the service management team.
Sure. Those are a lot of things that you have to consider. And you're absolutely right. It is more than one thing. Tully, you're dropped into this store. What would you do?
Two things. First off is that I interview everybody. You bring them in, you close the door, and this is not a 5-minute interview. I understand some technicians have a hard time talking, but you've got to interview your process. You've got to interview your people. Next is I'm a data person. I need to know where we are today. I need to know where we are so we can show the improvement, because anything I do, I have to show the result to them and their families. If it doesn't have an effect on them and their families, it's a complete waste of time. So my goal would be is you bring in the data set and you start putting the TVs up and you start measuring the success day one, and then bring out all of the things, because you're gonna have a laundry list of things you bring out. But to me, fundamentals first, measure and interview.
I think that's so key, right? Realize what you really have there, what's actually in your store, and what is the opportunity, and where are the glaring weaknesses, where are people walking out, where are the defections of technicians, defections of customers, what are the biggest issues that you have to dive on first and make work. Sarah, how are we doing? How's this going for us?
Ron, this has been a lot of information to really just think about. And I just want to thank all of the panel, Tully Williams, Scott Gregg, Tom Druzynski, Shon Kingrey, Ed Roberts, John Fairchild. This has been really, really informative. A lot of really great takeaways, Ron, for dealers to think about in the next 6 months.
Yeah, it's easy to just say, things are going well, or you think you've got it all figured out. But if you don't have that long-term view of things, and like several of you said, take a consultative approach to your own business and say, if I stepped back for a minute and looked at my store, where could I get better? What could I do that would just make more sense? And, towards the greater goal of making this all work. So it's fun to see. It really is, to see all of your minds that are working on this every day, all day, coming up with great ideas to grow it. If you haven't seen the magazine, by the way, our latest poster child was, yes, right there he is. Look at him. Wow, what a guy, huh? What a catch. This guy here, Shon Kingrey, is amazing. And I had great opportunity to spend some time with him at NADA this year. And we did a lot of talking. He wrote a really good article about, executing the fundamentals, right? Which is what we're really talking about here, is making things work. And he did a great job for us. He really put a great article together. And Shon, thank you for all of your hard work. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Ron. Thank you for the opportunity. And again, I'm humbled again, honored. And again, thank you everybody on the panel. Thank you everybody, Fixed Ops, Ted, Sarah, everybody, Ron, obviously, thank you to you, John, Tully, Ed. I talk to you guys regularly. So again, I'm humbled and I'm honored more than I can even put into words.
Well, Ron, one last thought before we wrap the panel today. Where can people get a copy of that wonderful, this wonderful copy today with Mr. Shon Kingrey on the cover? How can people get this magazine?
Well, Sarah, that's a great question. And, it is probably the most valuable resource you can get, and the least expensive resource that you can get, because all you really need to do is go to fixedopsmag.com, hit the subscribe button, put your information in, and you then will be a recipient of both our digital and our print magazine. We have about 38,000 subscribers. There's 16,689 dealers in the United States that get our magazine, which means about 2 people per dealership actually end up getting the magazine. And it's a great resource for you to go and take. Sarah, I think I said to you one time, imagine if you had a football stadium full of people, right? A small football stadium, 38,000 people, right? Asking, and you had to talk to all 38,000 of them. What would you say? Well, what you do is you pause for a moment, you get your words together, you get your thoughts together, and you say something important. And that's what we do with the magazine. We say, pause for a minute, think of something that you want to say to 38,000 people, and then say it, and say it well. And it really comes across great. So please go to fixedopsmag.com and sign up for the magazine. We'd love to have any new subscribers. It's really going to benefit them.
Ron Overs, it's always a pleasure to connect with you and the esteemed guests we've got today on the Fixed Ops Magazine panel. So on behalf of Ted Ings, just want to thank each and every one of you for being part of our show today. Ron Overs, Tully Williams, Scott Gregg, Tom Druzynski, Shon Kingrey, Ed Roberts, and John Fairchild. Thank you all for being part of the Fixed Ops Magazine panel here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. If you're listening in, you definitely want to stay tuned because we have some more exciting content coming up next on the show.
Thanks again, Sarah.
Do you have a great product you want to get in front of auto dealers across the country, and specifically their fixed ops departments? You know, their service, parts, and body shop. For over 15 years, Fixed Ops Magazine has been putting service-related products like yours in front of franchise auto dealers across the country. There simply is no better way to reach every dealer in the USA all at once. Hi, I'm Ron, the publisher of Fixed Ops Magazine, which is both a digital at fixedopsmag.com and print magazine that reaches out to over 38,000 subscribers who influence what products are purchased in the over 16,000 dealers across the country. Fixed Ops Magazine may even publish your article about a topic you are an expert and have a real passion for in this industry. Every article has the author's contact info so they can reach you. Write an article, run an ad, and an e-blast. We call that our bundle for success. You won't believe how great a deal it is. So to get started, call, text, or email me and I'll tell you more. We are 100% devoted to the franchise stores so we don't waste your time or money. We are laser focused on your prospects. Fixed Ops Magazine, the #1 way to get your product in front of auto dealers today. www.fixedopsmag.com. Ron at fixedopsmag.com, 714-803-5476. Fixed Ops Magazine, the #1 way to get your product in front of auto dealers today.
Take a moment now to pull out your flip phones to scan the QR code on your screen to vote for the Best Practice Awards that will be announced at the end of the event. Remember, every vote counts, so make sure to put your superpowers to use and vote for the top 5 speakers or panelists who you think are thebomb.com. And don't forget, you can only vote once.